Chillin' with Larry Megan.
Well, here we are, chilling with Larry Megan on a Saturday night special edition. And I've got my good friend, special guest, Tim Temple. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Okay.
This is going to be great. We have no idea where any of this is going. So
well, you know, we have no idea, but I got a couple of little surprises up my sleeve. But,
right,
you know, what I want to do, though, is I want to let, you know, everybody know that, you know, our engineer, Ronnie, is stuck at the airport. You know, we've got a lot of snow on the road right now, and there's a lot of ice roads out there. And Ronnie's stuck at the airport. So he'll probably get here in about 45 minutes or an hour. And so I'm doing the engineering all by myself here, guys. And I told you before, I'm really not that good at it, as we saw Thursday night. So you're going to have to bear with me if the sound isn't just right or, you know, the videos and things like that. And, of course, the hardest part, Tim, is doing Skype calls by myself. I want to just kill Ronnie, but I told him to just be safe, you know. So, listen, before we get into things here, let me just say that, you know, any new viewers that we have out there tonight, you see right on the website, we do have a Skype. Just refresh that page, if you would, for me, Tim. But here's the thing. We do have on the front homepage a phone number at the top. You can use that number to call in, but hold off because we're not going to take any calls for the first 10 or 15 minutes as we get going here. And then also, if you have video Skype, it says Skype Acorn TV. So what you can do is you can, you know, go to Skype, type in Acorn TV. We'll get a request that you want to be a friend or whatever. Accept it. We'll accept it. And then we can actually bring you in as a video Skyper and put you on the air as a split screen. Okay. So we want to encourage you to do that. Give us about 10 or 15 minutes into the show before we start taking any calls. But again, we do encourage you. And again, for anybody new, please, if you haven't joined the Acorn TV Facebook page yet, you know, we're going to be doing all kinds of shows. I have our regular weekly show, but we'll do some special spots like this, especially when, you know, some guests come into town, Tim. But just click the Facebook button. It'll take you to the Acorn TV Facebook page and just hit like. And then we'll be in your news feed and we'll be able to send you updates. And also, you please follow us on Twitter. If you haven't clicked yet to follow us on Twitter, just click the little Twitter button and you can follow us on Twitter. And also, there's one more trick, Tim, that I learned, and that is there's a share button. I didn't even realize it until, you know, I was just told about it 2 days ago. It's right on, right there on the player that you're watching here on Acorn TV at the bottom. It says share. And you can click, it says Facebook, click share, and then hit Facebook. And you could put our broadcast on your Facebook page. And we would
do that.
Yeah, and we would see. Go ahead, man. Right. But I think it's signed into my.
Then that would be kind of redundant.
Yeah, it wouldn't work on that computer because it's already signed into my Facebook page. But you know, we encourage you. We hope you'll do that for us. You know, go ahead and share this on your Facebook page, and then some of your friends can see the show right on your Facebook page. But Tim, I mentioned that you know, I thought I would start it off with a little surprise, and I got something queued up here. Check this out now, Tim. All right, hold on. I got to get my glasses. Again, bear with me here. I'm engineering the show myself, but just watch the monitor here, okay? And let's see if we can get this queued up here. 1 second, Tim. All right. Here, just hold it for me, Tim.
Okay. It's occurred to me this is kind of like the HBO Ricky Gervais show with a comedy straight out.
Okay, here we go.
We were actually talking about this, and it's really occurred to us that here in less than a year at WSS, I have had more watch presidents on the show, and it's true, in less than a year.
Are you counting me?
Pretty much, yes, as a matter of fact. And we added it all up. We're pretty sure we have had more watch presidents and executives on the show in less than a year than all of our competition combined.
So this
it's because of your charm, and it's because of your charisma, and it's because of your magnetism, Tim.
And I think it's, you know what, actually what I think it is because we have assembled, pretty much handpicked the team that's here. We have the best buyers in business, and the CEO happens to be a watch guy and so on, and it's worked out terrific. Speaking of watches, I do want to mention next week, and presidents for that matter, once again we're going to be making shopping television history and watch history. We have the president of Gevril, who's going to be joining us in here live in the studio, and this is we're talking about a major luxury brand. This is a guy who makes $30,000 watches. This has never happened in history television, and we're very excited, and it's going to happen on Sunday, so be sure to check that out.
We have a $30,000 watch.
You do?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you do. Yeah. So you know what?
do.
For the second time, we have a president making $30,000.
Just didn't want to let that
That's
slip.
pretty cool.
Didn't
That's
want to
true.
let that slip by.
I stand corrected. You guys have a $36,000.
I mean, what am I?
watch
Chopped
now.
liver? You know, hey.
Yeah. It's worth pointing out.
Anyway.
So, Gevril, next hour. All right, very quickly, here is a truncated.
Well, there it was, Tim. Now, you didn't even know I was going to do that.
No, I certainly didn't.
You know, and here's the thing about it, Tim, is that I've got probably, I don't even know, man, just probably 50 hours of just, our shows from, that was from 2005, by the way, if you can believe that. But in 6 years, man, did I get fat.
Not at all. Not at all. Fit and trim.
All right, man, I think I got pretty fat. But that was in the end of 2005, maybe November-ish.
Yeah.
And that's where we are now. So that's exactly 6 years ago. And you didn't know I have all those tapes, did you?
I had no idea.
Yeah. I had recorded all the shows. But anyway, that was for old time's sake 6 years ago, Tim and I, on another shopping network.
Back in the day.
Yeah. But anyway, Tim, listen, I know you have a lot of interests, besides, watches. And on your Facebook page, I was able to, actually pull some images.
Okay.
And so I thought.
That's going to be dangerous. Okay.
Okay. Hold on. And then after we look at a few pictures, Tim, I'll open it up for some callers.
Okay.
All right.
That seems more than fair.
Okay.
All right.
So let's see here. We're going to go here, and I'm going to show you some shots, and let's see what we've got going on over here. Okay. Now, first of all, here we go. All right, here. I already went past it here, but we're seeing some of your interest in music, Tim. Talk about this.
Well, let's talk about what is immediately on the screen. What you're running through there is actually some stuff I just grabbed with my cell phone. For those who don't know, I actually reside in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'd been in Nashville, I guess for 4 or 5 years now, and I had never been to the Country Music Hall of Fame. So I finally, got to get down there. So I go down there, and it turns out that it is very, very much worth the visit. If you guys are ever in Nashville, go. You'll really enjoy it. And one of the things they have are some of the mixing consoles from the 1950s, 1960s, what have you. And the consoles that Larry just scrolled through were consoles that were used on some of the most famous artists, especially in the 1950s. And it's not a console that resembles it. It's the actual console that some of these very famous tunes, like I can't remember which, I think it was one of the Elvis songs, Patsy Cline recorded on it, and so on. And there is something, as a mixing engineer, which is what I do when I'm in Nashville, that it's remarkable to actually look at a console, and it's a console that's actually historical, that was an integral part of what became music history. And I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Patsy Cline was one. Buddy Holly recorded on one of them. Elvis, people I'm leaving off at the moment. But that's what those pictures were. Now, the guitar was one of Chet Atkins' guitars. They actually currently have a fantastic exhibit, and I think Chet Atkins is phenomenal. If you haven't listened to this guy play, he was extraordinary. You can see why he's such an influence. So they've got a beautiful collection of some of his early guitars. They have that might even have been it, or one of them, like the guitar he had as a kid, and so on and so forth. And of course, then he became the legend. So that's basically what that series of images is about. On the screen currently, that is, I believe that's the one that, I think that's the one that they used with the Patsy Cline session. It's on the screen at the moment.
Okay. All right. Well, here, I'm going to pull up some other pictures here, Tim. Let me see if I can get this here going here. I've got now you're a photographer too, and
yes,
I know that, and I saw quite a few pictures out there. 1 second here. Let's go with. Here we go. Let's get this going here. So I'm going to. Here we go. Again, guys, bear with me here because I have to do everything myself. We normally have Ronnie here, but we'll get it done here. Oh, here. Listen, I wanted to just here, check out this here, fellas. Oh. 1 second here. See, everything is a trick here. Okay. All right, now let's see what we got going here.
Okay.
We'll get it here. So, Tim, tell me about your photography while I'm trying to get this thing going on here.
Well, I started actually really young, much like music. I got into both photography and music for two reasons. One was that the gear necessary, in my case it was a piano and a camera, were both available around the house. And the other was that no one told me I couldn't do that. So I would just pick up a camera and go take photos. And my earliest recollection, I think around 5 years old or so, I did a portrait of my parents out in the backyard. I think I still have that one somewhere. And it just kind of went from there. I actually, for that one, I'd borrowed my dad's gear. My dad was pretty into it. And then I had if you remember, you camera guys, what was called the Brownie. I had one of those for a while. On the screen currently, and I have to tell you, what's on the screen, just so you guys know, is stuff from my cell phone. But I promise we'll show you some of the stuff taken actually with real gear. But that is the famous jungle room over at Graceland.
Okay, and we missed that first shot, but we'll come back to it here. But I saw you had these in your. This is all at Graceland, right?
Yeah, this is all Graceland, and that's also the jungle room. I noticed, and understandably, like most people that go to the jungle room, they just do that first shot, but no one ever turns around where you can see the other part of the room. Mm-hmm. That's the pool room. I don't know if it had a nickname, and it's hard to make out in the shot, but the entire room, including the ceiling, is covered in fabric. So it's like being in a giant, like a circus tent or something. Mm-hmm. When you're in there. Just a massive amount of fabric.
This looks like a rear shot.
I assume
here.
Elvis picked out himself. That is the back of Graceland. Which, again, I've never seen a picture of it, so now you have. That's what it looks like from the back. And there's a separate building. I don't know what it was originally. My guess is maybe part of the stable that's back behind it. But they house, of course, his extraordinary catalog of gold records, platinum records, and Grammys and so on. And that was that television was a gift, I think, from RCA.
These what are these gold records up here?
Yeah, just a very small amount of them, and that's in one time it was I think it was a handball court. That's the dining room. That's his grave. There's the front. That's when you first walk in the front door.
This is what I wanted to stop on because that's a pretty hot shot right there.
Yeah, that's just aiming the cell phone, and you keep right on going. But that's his living room, and then the music room right beyond it. That was my one and only visit to Graceland. Though at some point I'd probably go back. And over the years, I've heard people remark that Graceland is smaller than they thought it would be, and that was true for me as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so legendary, and people keep hearing about it, and songs are written about it. And I think you expect it to actually be a much bigger place, but it's not like it's tiny, but it's not a colossal house by any means.
Yeah, and of course, the other thing that I know you do a lot of is traveling, and you got quite a few pictures here from your travels. Okay,
here we go. I don't know, can you slow that down or start it over?
Yeah, it's hard to start it over, but we'll come back to it.
Okay. Well, I'll just grab this one. This is actually a portion of one of the color plates that I did in China. So, I'll give you the story behind this shot. I was doing, let's see, the better part of 2.5 week tour in my first foray into mainland China as a photographer, and I was in. I to be honest, I can't even remember the town, but it was this small town, somewhat industrial, but honestly, most towns these days in China seem to be that way. And I had checked into the hotel, and the gentleman that had been my guide for the day, he says, "I have an idea for you." And I see you've moved on here.
Well, we need the engineer here.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You want me to uphold the story and come back?
No, just go ahead. Go ahead. Finish that story. Absolutely.
Okay. So the story then with the girl that you saw with all the colors is he says there's this remarkable dancing show. Basically, is how he described it, kind of a musical, and I said, yeah, I might be interested in that. It was at that night. So we ended up as a group of us from the hotel that we go down there. And so we get there, and it's actually in a basement. It's in a giant basement, but you don't know it at the time. All you know is that you're going, there's sort of a restaurant, but you're not going into the restaurant. You're going down underneath into this basement. And so all of us are thinking, okay, we just got completely taken. This is a tourist trap, and it was the equivalent of about $30 to get into this thing, so which in China is not cheap at all. And okay, you got us, but we're down here. And the thing opens up, and it is a musical, but it is the history of Buddhism in China in a musical. And I'm telling you, it was one of the most majestic stage performances that I've ever seen. I about a week later, 2 weeks, whatever, I got to see one in Shanghai with 20 or 30 times the money. Huge production, massive room, blah, blah. It was half the show. And so anyway, that one close-up, there it is again, briefly, was the... it's actually a close-up of one of the color plates, and I just put my camera on a tripod, and I would just hit it on a shutter release and just keep taking shots of the show again and again and again. And a few of them turned out really well. And I thought that detail of that girl with those scars was...
But you've been doing
cool.
this traveling for, it must be a lot of years already, because you couldn't have accumulated all these pictures so quickly. I mean, you've been doing this for years?
It's kind of a compilation. That one I shot in the 80s. That's actually, I want to say that's Ephesus in Turkey, where they actually had 2-story buildings, and it was far more elaborate than I think a lot of people would have thought that it was. Yeah, that's Ephesus. Now, that is the Red Square in Moscow, and I would have shot that in 2008, I think. Yeah, spring. In fact, that was the first day of spring, and it was also the first warm day in Moscow, and I was actually over there with, Craig Hester, the watch industry's favorite comrade. So we spent a little less than a week in and around Moscow, just going to different watch factories and talking to the Russian scene in general for watches. And so our guides take us down on the first warm day, and we're on Red Square. Now, as I got to tell you, as an American who, in my case, kind of grew up on the really grainy news footage of, the Russia, they're the evil and this and that, and they would have these, which they did. I mean, they had these massive parades across Red Square, and I actually got to traverse the exact track where they were moving the nuclear weapons and all of that. And it's a very strange kind of an experience to walk on that exact ground that you've seen in all that news footage. But the girl blowing the bubbles, there were just the 2 girls that were just out there playing, and they, for whatever reason, were just blowing these soap bubbles. And I thought that was just a really cool juxtaposition to have that kind of an image on the legendary Red Square. And of course, you can see the Kremlin kind of there in the background. So
what do we have here,
where it came
Tim?
from. This is Antarctica.
It's
the only photo I didn't take, but I'm in it.
Okay, I saw somewhere down in there. These panoramas are hard to...
Yeah, it's hard to squeeze in.
I saw those. You had a picture of all these penguins, which was out of sight. Did you take that one?
Yeah, the one you just had on that's the only one I didn't take.
Okay,
that's taken actually by a wonderful photographer, Alan Chung.
And what do we have here?
And he and I were down there with Nat Geo, and he actually sent that to me as a gift because I happened to be in it. That is in a Nubian village in the Sahara Desert.
What year? What year are we talking
That would
about?
have been 99.
All right.
Yeah,
let's see.
1999.
Let's just see. Here's some
That's
of your
Antarctica.
There's some of your
I
penguins.
took that one. Yeah.
All right.
That is Barcelona, Spain. That's the one of the gates to the Gaudi Cathedral.
And what year are we looking there?
That would have been...
This looks like
That's a good
London.
question. London, that was shot in the 80s. It's probably 1987.
You took this shot too?
Yes.
All right, so you've been doing the photography for a long time.
Yeah.
Here we go.
That's Peru. That's on the way up to Machu Picchu. I would have shot that in 97.
Okay. What else we
Or
got?
98, somewhere in there.
Let's see here.
That's Washington.
Oh, that's the Washington Monument.
Yeah,
there.
shot from the Lincoln Memorial.
Nicely done. Another one of your panoramas.
Yeah, now this panorama I did do. This is inside. It's one of the museums I can't pronounce. This is right in the center of China. It's actually a wonderful excavation. And the reason I chose this particular panorama, I thought it was a great juxtaposition when you've got all of the contemporary architecture, because they're so into that now, and China is doing very contemporary and industrial, and to put this over a civilization that's several thousand years old, I just found it interesting. So that's how that came about.
What do we have here, Tim?
That is the Grand Canyon. It's actually a moonset. The dot there in the upper portion of the screen is actually the moon descending. That is in, this is Chile. This is northern Chile, and that is a sand dune. It's actually several hundred feet high that has built up between two mountains. And so part of which I did do this after I took this shot, is you just get on that ridge and just walk across this dune, which takes forever. That's outside Cairo. I actually entitled that pic Cairo 5 a.m.
What year were you there? When were you there?
That would have been 99, I think.
Here we go.
That is 2008. I actually volunteered at a panda reserve in mainland China for a few days. And in return, I got access to the pandas and stuff. That's in England. That is Castle. I think that's Leeds Castle, I think. That is Patmos, not Patmos. That is Mykonos.
Oh,
shot on
yes.
Mykonos, Greece.
Yes, I've been there.
That is that same play that's in the basement.
In the basement?
Yeah, it's in the basement of this restaurant. Go figure.
Oh, in Mykonos.
No. You moved on
Yeah.
to the Dancing
Oh,
Girls.
okay.
That was back to China again.
Oh, back to China. Okay.
That shot about 4 in.the morning. That's off the coast of Antarctica.
God, it looks like a shot from The Old Man in the Sea.
Yeah, it kind of is. And there's, you can see another one of our teams up there at the front of the ship. What's hard to make out in that shot is you could see it coming over the horizon, is that the temperature had arrived at a point where the surface of the ocean is simultaneously freezing and unfreezing, and it results in these millions and millions and millions of what looks like these diamonds that are just floating right on the surface, and it's just skating right through it. Easter Island. And for the record, that shot, the color is not pushed in any way. I actually shot that. It's one of my last forays on film. That was actually shot on Provia, which is a fantastic Fuji film, and it is famous for legendary color saturation, and that was just high res. I think we drum scanned that one, but yeah, the color is what it is. This is that's called The Girl at Jerash. This is shot in Jordan, and I just liked the way it ended up laying out mathematically. But what she is watching, I just found this interesting, is actually a parade of bagpipe players. That this is shot in a very old amphitheater. I'm not even sure who built it. Mm-hmm. And I was in the midst of just generally doing photography, and I noticed she was off by herself, and so I was just trying to get, okay, this will be interesting. Let's kind of get an off-center shot. And then these probably better part of 20 bagpipe players and drummers just showed up and started marching around the place. So that's
here we go. Oh, come on, keep it down. I love this shot.
Okay. Antarctica, I did this one.
These are all penguins up
yes,
here.
There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of penguins. Maybe 1 million. It's tremendous.
These are all penguins.
And it is unbelievably loud.
What would have
'cause
happened if they
they're
would
all
have attacked
screaming.
you?
They'd have won. Basically. It's molting season, so you have what they call the brownies, which was named, I guess Shackleton's group came up with the name. But if you notice, a lot of them are small and brown, and those
That's
are the
awesome.
chicks. And before they become this really elegant tuxedo, they're just brown, and they're in the midst of molting. So there's water flowing through there because I'm down there in the Antarctica summer. So they get in the water, and basically they're rinsing off all the old feathers and whatnot.
What year are we looking at?
That
on
would have been 2000 late. It was November and December of 2004.
Wow.
Yeah, I was down there for about a month. That was this is one of the famous terracotta warriors in China, and sometimes it's good to just know people. And over the years, I got to know some folks to help me put the China trip together. And they, to be honest, I don't really know how they did it, but they actually got me into the pit with the warriors. And so out of all the people there, I was the only one down there. And you're allowed, it's very strict, you're allowed about 20 minutes. And then you are allowed one camera, one lens. That's it. And then you are heavily escorted the entire time. But I'm actually down there walking amidst those warriors. It was pretty extraordinary. This next picture is actually one of my personal favorites. I absolutely love it. And again, for the record, the color is not pushed in any way in the shot. It was
Where
shot
are
in
we?
Provia. That's northern Chile. And there's quite a story that actually goes with this one.
What year was this now?
This is early November 2004.
Okay.
And we were told that there would be penguins out in this salt flat, and the penguins, flamingos, which is what those dots are in the shot. It's actually flamingos. And so we are awoken about 4 in the morning. When I say we, myself and the rest of the team. So we're piled into this van, and the local guy is taking us down there at one point because we're looking over his shoulder, it's literally 70 miles an hour. And yes, that's very good. It's like I'm looking actually at the screen right now. And so
modern technology.
We're on a dirt road
Okay.
in pitch black. Just
Okay.
like, we're thinking, and to this day, he may be the single greatest driver that I've ever been in a vehicle with. It was unbelievable through loose gravel at 70, with no exaggeration, 70 miles an hour. So we finally arrive at this place, and it's apparently tourists do go there, but they all go during the day. And during the day, this looks pretty bland and nondescript. But what it is, it's a salt lake in northern Chile, and it's about 6 inches deep. And flamingos absolutely love it, and they spend the nights in it. And the moment the sun comes up, though, they take off. And then within a few minutes of that, the light completely bleaches out all of the color, and all of this is actually gone. But we were very fortunate because in that shot, you actually are seeing a volcano, and that is actually a moon set, but a full moon, and the sun's coming up behind the camera. So that's the story on that.
Okay,
But
we
it's
have
one of my faves.
so many pictures here. We're going to cut the pictures short, Tim. You got
Okay.
all this beautiful stuff in India. Stuff.
Want to talk about the bears, or
No,
you
well,
want
I
to
mean,
come back to it?
No,
We'll come back to the bears.
I want to get some calls in here. I know.
All right,
some
let's do
people,
some calls.
I,
Cool.
I see some stuff in the chat room there, Tim. I can't read it from here because you're sitting in my chair. But that's
You want to
okay.
switch? I'll sit over there.
No, I don't, Tim. But
Okay.
this is the last one. The Bears.
All right,
we
we'll
got
talk
to
about the
talk
Bears.
about the Bears. What's the Bears?
The bears are shot north at Norway. Well, actually, they're shot about 600 miles off of the North Pole. I would have shot them summer of 06. And we were actually in a rubber boat, and we're just following. This is a female with 2 cubs, and 2 cubs the twins are pretty unusual, as it turns out. So we're following them around an ice floe, and she, for whatever reason, was very cool with it. And usually they're not, but we got to follow them for, I'd say, better part of an hour. And this is when I had just moved from film to digital, so I'm totally digging this new digital thing where you can just shoot and shoot and shoot, as long as you've got capacity on the cards. So we kept getting closer, and I'm using smaller telephoto. We got closer. Finally, we got so close. I'll put it this way. This shot is not telephoto at all. I actually threw on a 50 millimeter lens, which for those of you that don't speak photography, that's basically what the eye sees. And we are as close as it appears. And right after I got this shot, she lunged for us. She decided we were going to be lunch. And then the guide we were with, which is this Scottish guy that sounded exactly like groundskeeper Willie on The Simpsons, he starts yelling. He's like, "Get out of the way," which I can't do the accent, but he comes flying up, and he's got the gun, and he ended up not using the gun. He just had an oar, and he made a big splash, and all of a sudden she turned around and changed her mind, fortunately. But I really like this shot because I was the only one that got it. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of frames are being taken. There's probably, I guess, half a dozen photographers with me. But just for that split second that one of the two cubs looks like he's waving. And I always thought this would be a good thing for the Norwegian government or something. You know, come to Norway and have that bear waving or something to that effect. But that's the story behind the shot.
Listen, if anybody wants to go ahead and call us, have any questions for Tim or myself, by all means, feel free to give us a call now. You see the number on the screen. If you have the ability to video Skype us, we'll put you in the show. So go ahead and give us a call here. I've got Skype open, and the phone line is open, and we'll take a call if anybody wants to ask Tim any questions about whether it be watches or, whatever else is going on. Tim, another thing, too, is I know that, you and I sometimes we talk about music, and it may not always be the same music that we dig, but you dig all kinds of music.
Yeah, I really do, actually. I think that it obviously I like some more than others, but yeah, I think you can really glean interesting things, influences from just about any genre. No, I know you go back to like 1930s, 40s.
Yeah,
stuff like that. And the first band I ever played in actually was a big band, so I actually played a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I'd like to get us okay, here we have someone coming in, it looks like, here.
Okay.
Oh, no, someone...
See what happens.
Let's see what happens. It's from the 818 area code. 1 second, Tim. I'll handle it.
All right.
1 second. All right, who's calling? 1 second. Somebody there? I'll be trying to put this on the, just get them on the air. Let's see. Okay. Caller, are you there? Let's see. Are you there? Okay, there. Are you there?
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Okay, there. Are you there? Okay.
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Okay, there. Are you there? Okay.
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Okay, there. Are you there? Okay.
Larry, are you there?
Okay, there. Are you there?
Larry,
Yeah, I think we have you now, I think.
We do have
Larry,
you.
I think we have you now.
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Hi,
Turn
I think
your
we have you
computer
now.
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Hi.
My computer is
Turn your
down.
computer
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim. My
Hi.
computer is
Turn your
down.
computer
Hello, Larry. Hello, Tim.
Hi.
My computer. Anyway, I wanted to call in and say to Tim that I absolutely love his taste in suits. I absolutely love his taste in suits. I absolutely love his taste in suits. Are you there?
Hang in there, caller. We're working on it.
Are you there?
Hang in there, caller. We're working on it.
Are you there?
Hang in there, caller. We're working on it.
Are you there?
Hang in there, caller. We're working on it.
Are you there?
Hang in there, caller.
We do hear you,
Are you there?
but I'm trying to get rid of all this echo. But I'm trying to. We do hear you.
I wanted to tell Tim I love his taste in suits. I wanted to tell Tim I love his taste in suits.
I think you said you love my taste in suits. I think you said that you love my taste in
Yes.
suits.
And I watched the show just
Thank you.
yes.
That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
I can't. Caller, we had to turn down the monitor here for the time being. Larry, if you just want to, you can tell me the.
Well, he's
question.
saying that he likes your taste in suits, Tim.
Oh, well, thank you.
But
the
first
suits.
of all, who's on the phone with us? Let's
yeah,
identify
let's start with that.
It's Howard.
Howard, how are you, Howard?
Must be from Los Angeles.
Yes.
Well, Howard, I appreciate you.
Oh, Howard.
Howard, I appreciate
Yes.
you.
Howard S.
Howard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Howard.
Howard S.
So, well, thank you about the suits. Most of them they're actually done for the most part by a guy that builds suits for some of the NBA guys and some of the hockey players. The NBA guys.
Oh, well, they're impressive, especially your shirts with the initials on the cuffs. We don't miss any of this. We don't miss any of this.
He likes the shirts with the cuffs, that kind of stuff.
Cool.
I knew this was going to be crazy for me to try to do the Skype call. I just don't have this system down. Ronnie is going to be here.
Well, we'll hang out.
Yeah, we'll hang
do
out.
it,
Ronnie,
but,
our engineer, is coming. He got stuck in the at the airport, but he'll be here tonight. And when he walks in the door, I think that would be the time we should try to do some phone calls. Because
so Howard, call back, I guess, and we'll get you. But I appreciate the call and the compliment. Thank you.
You guys take care.
Thank you, Howard.
Bye.
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, let's wait till we get.
I
we
knew
get
it was
the
a
engineer
little,
involved.
little too ambitious.
Well, you got a lot going on here.
Well, the funny part is you're the sound engineer, Tim.
Behold the irony. Yeah, that's what I do in Nashville. Though to be clear, I don't do live. I just do what's called a mix engineer. So if you have existing tracks,
Yeah, but
then
at
I
least
mix them
you
in.
understand the mixing board. I'm looking at this mixing board, we've got the Skype on another computer,
Right.
all these wires going in there, and I thought I had it figured out, but unfortunately, no luck. But here's what I want to do is, in another, I don't know, probably 20 minutes or so, we'll have our engineer here, and if you want to call in, we're going to hang out. We'll take some calls, and we'll get it done right. Sorry about that, but I have a lot to learn, Tim.
It's a journey. It's an adventure.
Absolutely. Well, listen,
Larry. Every time I sit down in a mixing console, I learn something else.
well,
It never stops.
and listen, I don't want to waste more of your time on the air, but here's what we'll do, because I know that Ronnie is on his way. He texted me that he's on his way, but right now the roads are a little icy, and they got to drive slow.
Yeah.
But from the airport. But Tim, whenever I do a Chillin' with Larry Megan, I always show a little bit of classic films. Sometimes I'll even do a half hour of it. I'm not going to do that tonight with you here, but I got just a little flavor. I picked out something that I thought you might get a kick
All
out
right,
of, and I know you don't really
check
go.
it out.
I know you don't really go for the old stuff, like I do. But I want you to.
I enjoy it. I agree. I don't think I to the extent that you do.
All right. So anyway, here's what we're going to do. 1 second here. We're going to first go to the classic film zone, and then I'm going to surprise you with one.
All right.
Well, tonight, what I'm going to do for Tim, and we're just going to spend a few minutes here, rather than pick out a movie, I picked out something that I think you'll get a kick out of is from the old days. I'm talking 1931,
Oh, good. So I'm
1930.
not in it then.
No, you're not
Okay,
in it. No,
excellent.
you're not.
Carry on.
You're not in this one, Tim.
That's encouraging.
But did you ever hear of an actor by the name of James Cagney?
I've heard of that.
I know
that
you
up
have.
and comer.
He's like in the AFI, American Film Institute's all-time screen legends. He's in the top 10, number 8 of all time. So he's a big name and everything. But he was famous for playing gangsters. But I didn't pick any of his, where's you dirty rat or shooting guys with
I
guns.
once heard he never actually said that.
Well, there is in one I was going to use. He says, you dirty stinking rat or you dirty filthy rat, But I didn't do that. But instead, from a famous movie, and it was called Public Enemy. It was in 1931 by Warner Brothers. This famous scene of James Cagney, and what he does is he's playing with Mae Clarke. Okay, so here's what he does. Okay, he's sitting down for breakfast with Mae Clarke, and we'll get it going here. See if you like this. If I can.
Well, see, this is,
Go ahead, Tim.
like, chivalry isn't dead after all.
Yeah, here, a little replay, Tim. Check it out.
Yeah, yeah. We need a second look at this, Larry. I'm told vitamin C is
Yes.
part of this nutritious breakfast.
Exactly. Vitamin C is good for you. That's the famous grapefruit scene. And again, I don't know how that would play today. Although I've got a little thing queued up here about that. But that's not all. Here in 1933, with the same actress, here's James Cagney and May Clarke again, and this is where he shows her the door. In this one, he's kind of a gangster type, and the movie industry comes calling to him because they're making gangster movies, and they want him to be a consultant because he's the real deal. So he goes straight because he can make money being a consultant in Hollywood. And May Clarke is a woman that really knows him from the early days, and she's going to divulge everything about his real past and everything, and could blow his whole gig and making money. So this is May Clarke and Lady Killer with James Cagney. Let's see if we can check this one out here. 1 second here. James Cagney, what a great actor.
Yeah, that's a fine scene you picked out for us, Larry.
Well, here, if this was done today,
yes.
Now it's funny because it was the same actress. It was May Clarke in both movies.
I see a pattern here.
Same actress in both movies. The grapefruit scene, he shows her the door 2 years later in Lady Killer. But I found this on YouTube here. Here's one that the grapefruit scene today in the movies today by two other, young actors. Okay, let's check this out.
A little ode to the Three Stooges there.
Yeah, but you mean with the sound effects. But that would be the grapefruit scene today. The woman would stand up and, fight back, right?
That's right.
Anyway.
Enough of the fruit.
Anyway, but see, to me, those were the good old days. I mean, those were the...
Go on.
No, but you know what I mean. Come on. Those were real movies, But anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that. But, James Cagney wasn't all tough guy. Here's a quick shot of James Cagney with Bob Hope. And this is in 1955, The Seven Little Foys. Have you seen this?
I don't think so, but let's find out.
It's James Cagney and Bob Hope. This is 1955, and in The Seven Little Foys, James Cagney, comes back and plays the role of George M. Cohan like he did in Yankee Doodle Dandy, which was in 1942, which he did win the Academy Award for. And just to show you that he's not only a gangster type, Cagney, he's from New York, and he grew up as a vaudevillian. He had to sing and dance and act and do the whole thing. And in Yankee Doodle Dandy, he did a lot of singing and dancing. And then 13 years later, he did this film as a favor to the family of Eddie Foy. It was called The Seven Little Foys, and it was a tribute to Eddie Foy. And Cagney did it for literally for nothing. And anyway, here it is: Bob Hope playing Eddie Foy, James Cagney playing George M. Cohan. This is 13 years later, and at this point, Cagney is 56 years old when he does this scene. All right, so let's check this out. This is where it is in the clip right here. I really botched that up, Tim. I think the whole time I had the sound down and our mics up and the thing down. That's why I got it. We got to have an engineer here. I can't.
You really do. Yeah.
I can't do it. I mean, that's not what I do. Anyway, Sean just texted me. You have no audio. Anyway, Sean Wilsey texted in. Asked him to talk about the CVN days. Now, I was nowhere out here. I was on the West Coast at that time. So tell me, what was CVN, Tim?
CVN was actually, I guess it's fair to say, the second. Historically, it was the second network that became huge with Home Shopping Club, which was how things all started. We now know it today, of course, as Home Shopping Network. In 1986, I believe it was, that Cable Value Network grew out of a company that was called Comb Company that was based in Minneapolis, which was acronym, I guess, for Close Out Merchandise Buyers. And long story short, they recruited a bunch of us out of the Florida team, and north we came. And so CVN basically grew out of that, and it was where a lot of things were developed that you'll see today. Like, for example, the what in the industry is called the L graphic. I mean, a lot of that was developed at CVN, and certain techniques for the videography and moving the host around, and even going with wireless microphones and so on that we do today that everyone just kind of takes for granted. A lot of that was developed at CVN, which in 1990 was absorbed by a little-known company called QVC.
And what were you selling in those days? It wasn't watches, was it?
Watches were there, but you didn't have what you saw today. I mean, if you think about what's, where you and I are both known for watches today. And speaking of Sean, who I know just texted you,
right?
Sean Wilsey was actually doing the first watch show. I get asked that, but to which we'll come back to, because we'll talk a little bit about the history of that. But in the 80s, we were selling. That was another thing that kind of developed at CVN, was shows that actually had a theme. Because if you go back beyond that, in the early days of HSC, it was a completely different attitude, where they very deliberately did not have any rhyme nor reason to a show, because, as we were told behind the scenes, the reason people will tune in is they never know what they're going to see next. So you couldn't tune in to see a watch show or an electronic show or a gem show or whatever. because they didn't exist, and that's something that we developed over time at Cable Value Network was the theme shows. So we would have gold at the time was a big deal in the industry. So we had a lot to do with that, gold jewelry. Gemstones were starting to come in, and we had collectible coins, stamps, electronics.
Give us some juicy stories, Tim. Now, you were there, Sean was there. Who else was there? Come on now.
Okay, well, all right, let's name some people that folks might know. Skip Connolly was there.
Okay.
Karen Connolly, Carmela Richards, Bill
Is that the
Fahey.
same as Carmela Sterling?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who's now a guest on Shop NBC?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, she was there. Karen Connolly, Skip Connolly, Bill Fahey.
May he rest in peace.
Yes, the late, great Bill Fahey, for sure. He was one of the pioneers. He was there. Steve Siddall was there. Mary Beth Rowe, now over at QVC, got her start at Cable Value Network.
And did you ever work the overnights where you were going
sure.
for like 5 hours straight and things like that?
We'd gotten away from that, actually. We were doing a lot of 3-hour, 4-hour shows by then. If you go back to the really early days, we were doing 4-hour shows and 6-hour shows. Was pretty commonplace. And fortunately, we don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
And in those days, I know I was doing some home shopping in '96 in L.A. at a small, tiny station, and, I would do 5 hours straight standing.
Sure.
We used to stand. There was no sitting behind desks and those kinds of things.
CVN did a lot of standing, and it's been bandied back and forth. I mean, as I look at it now, I can do either, but I actually prefer the desk motif. I just think that it flows better.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, if you guys want to, unfortunately, I can't do the phones right now. We'll get our guy here. We'll be able to do that. But until then, we do have the chat board right here on the screen, right over here. So if you want to type in some questions in the chat board, you can do that. Sean, you've texted me a couple of times, and I thank you for that because I didn't have the audio up when we were playing the clip because I'm really not an engineer. But in any case, if you have, I can't read the chat board from here, Tim.
No, we haven't gotten the question over there.
Oh, okay.
For a while,
all right.
That they wanted you to do commentary over the clip.
Oh, okay. Well, I could do that. On my regular shows, though, I just like to let the clips play so people can see it. But, yeah, we can do commentary over the clips. But that was it for the Classic Film Zone. I just did a little taste of James Cagney. And I'm sorry that when Howard called in, it was nice of Howard to call in. What does he say? Ask Tim. Here's Sean Wilsey. Boy, he's helping us. Sean, I got to get you in here.
Yeah, you should.
I would
you
love
would be
to,
a great guest.
I would
You
love to get
absolutely
Sean in here for sure. Ask Tim about Capodimonte.
Oh, Capodimonte.
Capodimonte.
Capodimonte, yes. That's an interesting topic. That actually goes all the way back to the early days of HSC, and CVN picked up on it in a major way. But Capodimonte, for those not familiar with this product, was, I guess you could call it porcelain. I mean, it was made out of clay, I suppose, originally. And it would be, depending on how much you were willing to spend, it would be these increasingly huge and garish bouquets that were entirely porcelain, or sometimes they would just appear to be a giant bouquet that would just sit like on a table or something, and other times it would be like in some kind of a container. Anyway, the part that I always appreciated was we were given the specifics to the details of Capodimonte, which I have to this day never forgotten. This is going back to the pre-CVN, to be clear. This one was going back to the days of HSC when we were told to share with the viewers the story of Capodimonte, which is that Capodimonte meant top of the mountain in Italian, which actually I do think it does. My Italian is a bit limited. Though I am now working on that and getting better, thanks to Violante Placido, which is another story. But anyway, we were told that with Capodimonte that it was top of the mountain because at the top of the mountain there was a monastery where monks made the Capodimonte, and it was a secret process that the monks would pass on to their sons.
Okay.
The end. That's the whole story of
I've
Capodimonte.
got another one here. I got another one. I got another one from Sean. Okay.
Yes, that's good. We have at least Sean is participating.
No, we appreciate that because
We do.
Well, Sean knows you from the old days.
He
you know.
does.
I mean,
Sean
I know
and
you
go
from the old days,
back
but
in
he
the
knows
day,
you
man.
from the ancient days.
Yeah.
But ask Tim about working on the cruise ships.
Yeah, for a while, on and off, I did basically what I do now. It was if you think of as what is now, I guess, been named video retail. There was such a thing, and there is still, I believe, on cruise ships. So I did do that for a while. And this is a strange story. I'm one of the relative few people that has ever seen someone go overboard from a cruise ship.
What were you doing on the ship?
I was actually, well, at the time, it was roughly midnight. I was actually just standing out on the deck, and this was formal night, so there's a lot of gowns and so on. And formal night in and of itself is actually a fascinating essay, I think, on human experience on cruise ships, because just the way the word formal is interpreted is interesting, because you'll see anything from very elegant tuxes and gowns into this all matches because everything is blue. So there's just this huge array. Anyway, the point is, so I'm standing out on the back of this ship. In fact, it was deck 8, and it's what they call the donut deck, which is the deck that goes all the way around the ship. So if you ever wanted to walk or jog or whatever, that's what a lot of people did it on. Anyway, so it's about midnight. I'm just looking at the ocean, whatever, and down the deck about halfway, there's this couple that's arguing, and you see this fairly often actually on cruise ships. And so no one really pays a whole lot of attention, and they're getting louder and louder, and then all of a sudden she gets up in this flowing white gown and climbs up on the railing and dives into the ocean. And we are in the middle of Shark Alley in the Bahamas.
And I know you didn't jump in.
I did not. I most certainly didn't.
I know
But
that.
I did start screaming, man overboard, which, for the record, by the way, if you're ever in that situation, irrespective of whether it's a man or a woman, you are to yell man overboard. You are actually trained to do that. So I started yelling, and within moments, the emergency signal had gone out, and the captain comes on the PA, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a man overboard. Hold on." And they threw 27,000 horsepower into immediate reverse, and you could hear every glass, and every bit of china, and every liquor bottle breaking in the whole ship. It was it's very surreal, and it takes a while to turn this massive thing around, and
Absolutely.
they finally did. And 40 minutes later, she actually survived, and they pulled her in.
Well, Tim, we've come a long way, you and I. We went back, about 7 years, with the watches and everything, and we're still selling watches, Tim.
Yeah, it's that thing has grown astronomically. I started to talk about Sean Wilsey earlier, who's a terrific guy and a great host, and you absolutely should have him on your show.
I want to.
And he is one of the original watch personas or watch host. He did it before I did it. I've often been asked if I'm the original, or people kind of assume that I am, and I'm not. And if there's one of two, Sean Wilsey would be certain one of them. It's arguable that Danny Blair, who some of you know as the watch commander, may even have predated Sean, and I'm not really
Well, I can tell
sure,
you,
but they were both ahead of me.
I can tell you exactly when Danny Blair was doing watches.
Why, how long ago was he doing them?
Well, because I used to follow Danny at Panda America. Danny would do his watch show from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., and then I would come on and do gems and jewelry.
Yeah, but in what year?
1996.
96. So Sean, call us or text us or something and tell us if you did them. Because
Yeah.
Sean and I weren't working together in 96, so I don't know if he was doing them or not.
That was in 1996, and I was
doing them in 98.
Okay.
Sean was.
Okay, but in '96 in Torrance, California. Now that was a very small. I mean, Panda America. We were on C-band satellite, and we had a few cable markets, but that was very expensive territory to get CSOs to pick up your signal. But I would follow Danny, and Danny would, Danny and I got along great. I liked Danny a lot, and he was a surfer. I mean, Danny was a hardcore surfer.
And he looks it.
He was a hardcore surfing dude, man, and he'd come in there and, he'd say, do his, he'd take this watch out in the water and, all that kind of stuff. He was selling Sectors, and he had Invictus too. He had Invictus in 1996. I didn't know, much about watches in those days. I was into the gemstones. I was into the rocks. I love the jewelry. I love the gemstones. I mean, that's really, if you're into the gems, it's kind of an addiction.
What do you think drew you to gems? Is it the science? Is it the look? What do you like?
I kind of stumbled into it, to be honest with you. I remember when I took that job, at Panda America, I answered an ad in the paper. And at that time, I was coming off of a marketing consulting business of mine, and I had one client in my business. It was a consulting client, and, I did a lot of work for that client for 2 years. And that one client, I made a darn good living off of that from 94 to 96. And I guess I had just outlived my usefulness with that client. And they actually, I don't know if they're still using that marketing program we set up back then today, but they used it for, at least 10 more years after I left. But after I was no longer needed. And, the problem is when you have one client, if you lose that client, you have none. Then you're down to none, and you're in trouble. But you're still with a client. You're still kind of working for yourself. You are working for yourself, and the thought of working for somebody else wasn't, a great thing. So I thought, well, what I have to do is I have to take a part-time job until I can find another client, right? So I'm looking in the paper under part-time, and this was I remember it was in June. I believe, no, take that back. It was in May of 1996. And I'm looking under part-time because I don't want a full-time job, okay? Yeah. I just need something to bring a little money in while I look for a new client or, for my business. And it said on-air sales presentations 10 to 14 hours a week. And it said $25 an hour plus commission. Okay, and I had done sales for, forever. So, all I could see and all I could think about was 10 to 14 hours a week. That's perfect. That's all I was focused on, And I went in there and they had a bunch of guys bringing in their headshots and videotapes and all that. And I remember the general manager of that station didn't want to, have time to see me. He said, "Oh, just leave your headshot and your reel here, and we'll get back to you." And I said, "Headshot? I don't have a headshot. I don't have a reel." He says, "All right, well, come in the conference room. I'll talk to you right now." And he tells me, he says, "All right, I want you to take off your watch." And he says, "I want you to talk about your watch for 4 minutes." Okay? And, of course, I knew nothing about watches in those days, and I didn't know jewelry either. I was a marketing guy. I knew sports. I used to be a former, player agent, for football players, and I did sports marketing for many years. And it just so happened that watch that I had on, it was a gift, actually, from a friend. And so I remember it was a gift certificate from Sharper Image. I think I hear our guy. But anyway, I left the door open for him. Ronnie, our engineer, is coming up the stairs. Anyway, so what I'm saying is it was a gift certificate from Sharper Image, and it was a Skagen, a real skinny little Skagen watch, and it had a red and green hand. Hold on a second. Aaron, is that you? Aaron? Come on in. The engineer is now here.
Because otherwise we have breaking and entering here at Acorn.
Yeah. Come on in. So, hold on one second. I'm going to finish this story. But, Aaron, we got to get you to save the show here because I have messed it up so bad. We can't do call-ins, nothing. How are you? Get me back on track over here. All right, Ronnie's here now. So, here's what's going on. So, anyway, it so happened that the watch I had, it had a little red tip on one hand and a green tip on the other. And again, it was a Christmas gift from a dear friend. Actually, it was from a friend's mother. And I took it off and I said, what I like about this watch is that it's got a black face. And I do love a black face. And it's got a red tip, and it's got a red and green tip. And when you see red and green, what does that remind you of? It reminds you of Christmas. And so every time I look at it, it reminds me that it's a Christmas gift from a dear friend. So anyway, I kept talking about, this watch. I said nothing about the watch itself. I didn't know a quartz from a mechanical or anything in those days. And the guy stopped me after like 5 minutes, and he said, "Okay." He says, "If I give you this job, you have to agree to do one overnight a week." And I said, sure, you know. He said, what's an overnight, you know? I didn't know what it was. He says, well, that'll be from 1 to 6 in the morning. I said, sure. He says, you got the job. He says, because most guys can't talk for more than a minute. You know, they stop at like the 2-minute mark.
Yeah,
and
which is true, by the way. I've been in on these.
Yeah, and I just kept going and going, and I knew nothing about the watch, but I was telling about the story about the gift from a friend and and anyway, he gave me the job, and I came in there, and they decided to get me started with gemstones, and they put me with the gemstone guy, and he started teaching me all about the rocks, and I was following this crazy guy, Danny Blair, and he was a young kid, and I'd go and you know, I just took a liking to the rocks, man, and you know, it was, you know what it is about the gems. I mean, this is going to sound funny, but give me a 2-shot, Ronnie. It's again, it does sound funny, and don't get the wrong idea, but with the gems, and I'm dealing with these guys, these Portuguese guys from South America that are guys from the mines, and I had a Sri Lankan guy that was from had the stones directly from the mines in Sri Lanka and all that. And I started meeting all these gem dealers, and it kind of was like a drug business. You know, it's like drugs. I mean, in the sense that, you know, they have their private stash, and they said, this is the kind, you know, this is the good stuff, this is the goods, and they keep it, you know, and then you have some that's, you know, low price per carat, then some that's another price per carat. Now here's the kind right here. And, you know, and all these guys, they have the little parcels of stones in all their pockets and everything. And then you look at these stones and you just get drawn inside the stones, man. And I'll tell you, I loved it. I was just, you know, I was loving the rocks, and I got hooked into the rocks. And then they told me, we want you to do watches. I said, I really don't want to do watches. I like the stones. And so for a long time, and I remember my second full overnight show by myself, we did $21,000 in 5 hours. Now at that time, if you did $3,000 in 5 hours, that was considered a good, solid overnight. You know, because we were on C-band satellite. We weren't on cable. You know, the C-band satellite, you got to have those big, you know, 20-foot dishes in your front yard. And I remember I had a lady call in, and she bought a stone. I remember I didn't know much about the stones, so I would always just talk sports because I knew sports. And it was like 3 a.m, and I do have this on tape, by the way. And I turned to the 2 guys that were working with me, Francisco and Hetzi, and Hetzi spoke a little bit of English, but very little. These guys spoke Portuguese. And I said to Francisco, I said, give me the most expensive stone you've got. So he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a 3 1/4 carat Russian Alexandrite. Now, I know what that is today because I ended up going into my own gemstone and jewelry business. But back in those days, I was just learning. I didn't know what it was. And I was told by the gem vendor that whatever the price he gives you per carat, you know, you have to multiply times 4. Because the station that station used to take 50% right off the top. So if he gives you, you know, a 5 carat amethyst and the price is $3 a carat, well, that's 15 times 4 is going to be $60. You put it up there for $59. But he didn't tell me on expensive stones there's an exception. You fill, after the show, you fill out an exception sheet. You don't have to get 4 times. If the cost is $1,000, you could sell it for $1,500, and they can make $500. They don't have to do that. I didn't know that. So he gives me this stone, and it's 3 1/4 carats. He tells me $1,000 a carat. So I put it up there for $12,999. This is my second show by myself. Okay, it's 3 a.m. The next thing I hear in my ear is from the phone bank manager, Eloise, and she comes into my ear and she says, Larry, this item is sold. And back in those days, people wouldn't just buy it like that. In our station, it was a small station. They might make an offer, and we would negotiate it. No, we can't do it for $5,000, but if you can go to 7, we might take 7, or, you know, that kind of thing. It was sold, boom, just like that. And I said, all right, Eloise, who got that one? First name, city, and state, please. And she says, that's Diane in Indianapolis, Indiana, you know.
Wow.
And, you know, I don't know, you know, much about the stones, but, you know, at that time, that was in June of 1996. And at that time, Reggie Miller was a free agent. He's a basketball player, Tim. And he went to UCLA, and he's from LA. He's from Riverside. And, of course, I'm a big Laker fan. And he was working out with the second Dream Team, the Dream Team 2. And there was a lot of rumors that Reggie Miller might come to the Lakers and come home to UCLA. And I looked into the camera, and I said, you know, I'll tell you what, Diane, I have no idea if this woman is a basketball fan or not, but everybody in Indianapolis is kind of a basketball fan, you know. So I said, Diane, She buys a $13,000 stone for me at 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't know, but I think you're special, Diane, and I could be a greedy guy, and I could want Reggie Miller to come to the Lakers and come home and all that, but just for you, I hope that Reggie Miller stays in Indianapolis, Diane. Mwah, love you very much, that kind of a thing. And a minute later, Eloise comes back into my ear, and she says, Larry, Diane just called in, and she said, thank you very much. Her husband owns the Pacers. Emmis.
Yeah.
That's a true story. And over the next couple of weeks, she bought over $100,000 worth of gemstones from me.
Wow.
Yeah. And Marty, he called, Marty was the owner of the station. Kind of a crook, to be honest with you. But anyway, I don't know what he was doing. I tell you what, I got away from that guy as fast as I could. But anyway, no, seriously. And, these stories are crazy, but it's true. And Marty would call in right at 6 o'clock in the morning. He'd have his alarm go off at 6 because my show was from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. And a good show would be $2,000 or $3,000. So he calls in, and Eloise takes the call. How much did Larry do? $21,000, And he says, put Larry on the phone. So I come on the phone. I say, hey, Marty. He says, how'd you do? I said, well, we did $21,000, Marty. He says, you mean $2,100? No, Marty, we did $21,000. How could you do $21,000? Well, we sold a $13,000 Alexandrite. So he came in that day and he put me on the schedule. All of a sudden, from that point forward, I had 5 overnights a week. And I was going and all of a sudden, I'm learning 2 new businesses. I'm learning DRTV and I'm learning gemstones and jewelry. And I stayed with those guys for about 10 or 11 months, and then I left and started my own jewelry business, which I had for 2 years. But all right, we got a little off the subject there, but you see, it doesn't take a lot to pull it out of me.
It really doesn't. But we have an engineer now, a gifted engineer, so maybe we could try like phones.
I'll tell you what, Ronnie, I am so glad that you are here because we had someone call in. Howard called in. Howard, if you're still watching, please give us a call back.
Still with us.
The thing is, they called in. I had echoes going on. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't figure it out. I mean, you got to be an airplane pilot to work this stuff.
Well, we do have some questions over here while we're studying that. And seriously, guys, call us, and if you'd like, we'll try to get you on.
I think I filled enough time, Tim.
Let's see. I
got 1 million of them,
I'm going to skip down to a question I can sort of answer. Evan asked, is Danny still around? I know Tim worked with him. I've actually worked with him in a couple of different networks. I don't know, to be honest, what Danny's doing now. I mean, I know he was. I assume he's still involved with Oceanaut. Mm-hmm. He did return to jewelry television for a while. I don't think he's there anymore. And he also did a stint with Liquidation Channel out of Austin, and that was a while.
Well,
ago.
I mean,
at the moment, I don't know what he's doing.
Well, I have Danny's, cell phone number. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a little bit, but Danny and I are friends. I mean, we got along real good, and like I said, he was a real surfing dude in those days. And also, at that time, like I said, I would follow Danny right after him, and then coming in after me, I would go from 1 a.m. to, not 5 a.m., 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. I had 5-hour shows. His uncle would follow me from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning. And his uncle did antique and estate jewelry. Mm-hmm. And I started out with I got into the gemstones. I started learning like crazy. I just loved the gems. But his uncle was into antique and estate. That was Jack Jackals. That's Danny's uncle. And Jack was the nicest guy in the world to me. I mean, I love Jack. The guy took me under his wing. He was teaching me all about, the Art Deco period of the 20s, the Art Nouveaux, the Retro Decos of the 40s. I mean, you name it, man. I was loving, learning about the jewelry from Jack. He was the nicest man. And, it's kind of sad because a couple of years ago I ran into Danny at JCK, and I said, how's your uncle, man? Because Jack was the coolest guy in the world, at least he was to me. And he told me, Danny was with his wife, was Frances. I've known Frances since, his wife since 96, And I think she's a great lady. She's spectacular. And anyway, Frances was standing right there, and she's like shaking her head. I said, how's Jack doing, man? And Danny and Frances is over there going, no. He goes, I'm not talking. Jack and I aren't talking. We don't talk anymore. I mean, it's kind of sad how uncle and nephew.
But you know what? When you talk about him, training you with Art Deco and so on. I mean, it's such a natural tie-in for what you love.
Listen.
In film.
Can I have that book there? I want to tell you something. First of all, let me do a quick shout out right here. Anybody? How many viewers we have? Do we have any viewers? Can you see how many viewers? No. Do we have any viewers? How many? We got 26 viewers. Well, look that's great. I just got this. It just came yesterday for me. This is, I don't know if we can see this. I'm going to hold it up for the camera. Look at this. Jewelry International, okay? It is spectacular. A hardback coffee table book. This is the new version. And it was sent to me by my good friend, Cece.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I know Cece, I know you're not watching because she doesn't even know how to turn a computer on. God bless her soul. But her daughter does, and maybe her daughter could be watching. So, Junior, if you're watching, please tell your mom, thank you so much for this book. I love it. It's all about jewelry. Of course, it's published by the same company that publishes Watches International and, of course, Grand Complications, all the watch books. But, I mean, this is just spectacular. If you guys can go out there, go to Amazon or wherever you want to go, Barnes & Noble, you could pick these up. It's got the history of jewelry. All the big companies and brands are in here. I love jewelry. It's got Chopard and Cartier and Boucheron and, Tiffany's and Harry Winston. I mean, you name it. I mean, this book is just, it's mind-blowing. I mean, the book is like a $500. Look at this book, Tim. And it's the new one, of course. And Cece sent it to me. And, I miss you dearly, Cece. So, Junior, if you're watching, please thank your mom for me, okay? It's pretty hot. I mean, this thing is outrageous. If you like jewelry, get it. It's called Jewelry, Volume 3, Jewelry International by Caroline Childers. It's incredible.
I don't know what this question refers to, so this might be for Larry. When is the exchange coming back? Does that mean anything?
Yeah, it does. The Acorn Exchange. That's an outstanding question. Who asked that question?
That was from...
That's a great question.
Willie B.
Willie B. Well,
I think.
Last year, Tim, when I was doing these, now I can feel like I can relax. Now
please do.
Now that Ronnie's here.
Let's start the show.
We should actually run the Open again and start all over,
Let's pretend like that never happened.
Okay. We should.
It is in the past.
I wish it didn't happen. But in any case, last year I did 17 of these webcasts from New York, Tim. And, I found these guys, Frank and Anthony, up there in Port Chester, New York, which is right up by the Connecticut border in Westchester. And they've got a little webcast studio. And it's clean, it's sharp. These kids they're heavy rockers, hardcore New Yorkers. They're brothers, 26 and 24. And they've been doing webcast streaming for about 3 years. And not a big studio, but they've got the microphones and the cameras, and they've got the sound and the streaming and all that kind of stuff. And, we took a liking to each other, and they let me come in there and do my shows. And, of course, I paid a little fee, but, it was certainly cheap and worth it. And I didn't have to worry about a thing. I just know what I'm going to talk about and come in there and do it. And it was great. And for about the last, I don't know, I stopped the last couple of shows, but for about 4 or 5 shows in a row, we had a thing on our website, Acorn TV, called the Acorn Exchange. And Mr. Fisher, was very supportive of my efforts, and he gave me a few watches to sell. Just small quantities, 8 pieces here, 10 pieces there, stuff like that. And what I would do is I would give, if they tune into the webcast, at the beginning of the webcast, we would put an item up, and it might be $3.99 on the website, but if you use the code, like that night, if I was going to be talking about Ella Fitzgerald, maybe the code for the night might be Ella. And so you could go to the website, put the discount code in, and you could buy that watch for $99. And it wasn't about making money. If I made 10 or 15 bucks on a watch, I didn't care. It was really about more setting up the infrastructure of a shopping cart. And I still have that shopping cart. I'm still paying for it. I just have disabled it off the cart.
So is the exchange coming back?
Yeah, it's definitely part of the plans. I'm hoping that maybe by spring, if I can do anything sooner than that, that would be fabulous. But here's the catch. If I put something on there, I'm not so sure I want to do watches. I mean, because I
rocks, man. You love them.
Exactly. I've got so many connections in the jewelry business, especially in Los Angeles. I'm thinking about maybe doing some jewelry because, the thing of it is, I live, eat, and sleep watches, Tim. It's my job, every day with the watches and everything. So, and I mean,
let's do some other stuff in the exchange.
You never know. I mean, Mr. Fisher's been so great and so supportive of me and my efforts. Doing the Chillin' with Larry.
By the way, that was Scott that asked the question here. I'm updated over here.
Okay, hey Scott, thank you for that question. And if we bring in some jewelry, I'd like to bring in some really, really fine, nice stuff. Not calibrated goods or anything like that. I'm talking about gemmy, royal gem kind of stuff. Colors too. I love the colors.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Another question, Tim. Who all have you played with?
We didn't talk about
haven't
that.
talked
You're a
about that. Well,
musician.
that's a good
Tim
question.
is a fantastic musician.
Yeah, I've been playing the keyboards pretty much my entire life, and a little bit of percussion and a little bit of backing vocals, I guess, mostly keyboards. So yeah, I've toured on and off for years. So I won't list everybody, but a few things that come to mind. I did the last national tour for a band that was regionally a big deal, which was called The Heat in the early 80s. I did the last national tour for the Hollywood Clones. They were actually also famous in the early 80s because the front people of that band all had plastic surgery to look like someone more famous than they were. So they actually got famous because of that. And
You may not remember this, Tim, but you played a little bit for me because when I came here in 2005, you brought me up to your house.
yeah.
And I said, play something for me. And you just kind of fiddled around for a few minutes, and, you sounded great.
Oh, thanks, man.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. I do.
You had
it
a bitchin' little studio. It was upstairs.
It was a bitchin' little studio, if we say so myself. And now the one in Nashville is like 10 times that. I mean,
Tim had a
mixing thing's
whole
just
room.
exploded.
You had one whole room that was set up as your studio.
Yeah, and I do now.
And you had a huge house, Tim.
Yeah, well, that's
It was-
relative.
It was a nice house.
It was nice. It was.
It was in a cul-de-sac, wasn't it?
It was, as a matter of fact.
I remember, man. We drove up there. I said, "My God, where are you taking me?" I thought you were taking me into the woods and going to drop me off up there or something. It was up there, man.
Yeah, it's up in the woods. So
It was way up in the woods,
I
but that
assume
thing
it's
was a mansion, Tim.
Yeah, so that's
I go,
that's
my
where the
God.
studio was, and now I've blown the studio out into Nashville. Probably the single big. And I got to be careful how I word this. And let me make this clear: I was never in the band, but I did do one night with Kansas, and when they played the Orpheum. So that was sort of my claim to going out on stage with a major rock act.
And now you just don't dig playing; you dig mixing.
I love playing. I miss it every day.
No, but you dig mixing them.
Well, what happened with this whole mixing thing is I still do work as a composer, and I write sporadically for film soundtracks or game soundtracks. And I was expanding that to, let's say you're working on a CD and you wanted, let's say, a string section behind something you've already recorded. Well, I can provide that, or horns or piano or synthesizers or whatever. So I was kind of expanding into that. And then I landed in Nashville, and the thing about Nashville, first of all, it lives up to the hype as far as Music City. There is music all over the place. Most of the clubs in the tourist area have anywhere from 2 to 4 bands per day in there. It's massive. But I also discovered that you've got some of the world's greatest recording studios there. You have Blackbird. In fact, the guy that built my studio is now in process of building Jonathan Cain's studio from the keyboard player from Journey. So my point is that when you're in a market like that and you've got studios like what I'm describing, or House of Blues Nashville or whatever, and they've got these massive mic lockers, which means they've got massive amounts of microphones and special rooms and drum chambers. And me getting into that game made no economic sense, but I'm a good mix engineer, so I was able to build a room that's all it does. And so I take existing tracks from whoever and whatever genre you'd like, and then I can mix them down. So I've done that, and then sort of like what you saw, only in a bigger scale, where I've got a lot of my vintage synthesizers. And
you had a drum
so
set up in there.
I still have that. Yep, I have the drums, and then the vintage. I'm a big Oberheim fan, so I got 3 Oberheim synths.
What's an Oberheim?
Oberheim is a great vintage analog synthesizer. It came out, I guess, late 70s, early 80s. Probably most famous for Styx, when you think of the famous Styx songs, that really lush, heavy synth sound. That's all Oberheim.
All right.
And maybe some Mini Moog thrown in there. So stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so that's what I've got in the room currently.
A couple of times you've accompanied me over to the Guitar Center.
Yeah.
Lately.
Well, you got it. You have the pilgrimage.
What do you mean the pilgrimage?
Everyone has a pilgrimage to Guitar Center.
Oh, okay.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, so I've been going there to buy these microphones and cables and what else am I getting over there? I don't know. Whatever. Something,
As always.
And the couple times you went with me over there, right here in Edina, you go right to the sound room, and and you're starting to look at software that they've got on the program and stuff like that. You're like a software junkie, aren't you?
I am a software junkie because when you're mixing now, and there's two divided schools, and I actually love them both. There's the guys that want the outboard gear, what's called the analog gear. So you want like the heavy duty, real like manly amplifiers, or the Focusrite preamps, or call it what you will. And I do use those on occasion, but I also find that now, once you're getting into the professional level of software, that there are some phenomenal, what's in the industry is called plugins, that work beautifully. So I can create, for example, SSL console or a Manly EQ and so on, Studer A800 analog tape. I can actually now create that in what's called in the box. I've got a very powerful Macintosh computer system, so I just have all that, basically recreating these analog things. So yeah, I'm very much a junkie when it comes to the plugins. I got a few of those.
I had to buy software to do what we're doing here tonight. And now I've already got my eye on the next upgrade too, because I've got 15 modules with this software to do what we're doing. Which when I first got it, I said, "Oh, that's more than enough." Because I started with the home version, which was 7 modules. Now I've got the Pro, which is 15. I said, that's plenty. All right, we're maxed out right now. We've got all 15 in use. So the next version up has a preview monitor, Tim, which I'm dying to have because we're so used to working with a preview monitor. And it's got 25 modules. So it's only going to be another $500 upgrade, Tim.
Outstanding. I got more questions over here.
Okay.
And some of them have actually, can I scroll this back because I'm starting to miss them. Now questions are really starting to come in. Hold on, let's scroll it back. What kind of music does Tim play? Let me see if there's anything ahead of that one.
I would say easy. No? I don't know.
Well, it depends on the gig. So, very quickly, let's try to run it down. If I'm a sideman, then I play what the artist wants. You wouldn't hire me, for example, if you were hardcore jazz, because I just don't do that very well, or hardcore classical. But if you are new country or anything to do with power rock or even sophisticated rock, I'm your guy. So I can play a lot of that. And then what I also will do, like I mentioned earlier, is I do writing arranging. So if you needed me to write for an orchestra or string section to what they call sweetening, I do that sort of thing. And I think that's what he means by what kind of music that I play. If I'm on my own, I go back to my influences, so I play a lot of the older Elton John, Billy Joel, and I actually got started really early. The guys that got me into it, because I was just fascinated, was Keith Emerson from Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Rick Wakeman from Yes, who I still think are arguably the two greatest rock keyboard players ever to live. And I still try to play. I'm not saying I'm that good by any means, but I try to play their stuff. Also, a big fan of some of selected Toto work, especially Steve and Jeff Porcaro from Toto, Todd Rundgren for sure, Steely Dan. I'm sure some great people that I'm leaving out, but
and you haven't been. You're not into the X Factor, are you?
I am not.
I'm really.
I'm
into it. I'm way into it, but I've been getting disappointed lately the last couple of weeks or whatever. But anyway, I thought since you're a musician that maybe you'd like to see this young talent.
We'll do some X Factor. We can comment on it and trying to catch up some of the questions because now they're coming in and we've been negligent.
Listen, speaking of the questions coming in, if anybody wants to call in, the engineer is now
please call,
here.
I promise, and apparently it'll work. So
I am the one.
Call us.
I'm the one who screwed it up. Okay, I didn't know what I was doing.
Call and blame Larry for our audio woes.
Also, Ronnie, we got another new graphic I wanted to show you. Did you see the Monitor 2? Take Monitor 2. Check it out. Watch this. Is that cool? Okay. Right. Thought you might like that, Ronnie, but you really...
I like the homage to the Mac you've got going there.
Yeah, well, nice. The guy who did the graphics for me, he's one of those Mac guys.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
But anyway, so listen, if you can call in, we'd love to take a live phone call.
Please do.
Also, anybody that's got video Skype, come on, let's get you on the air.
We'd love to do a video Skype.
Let's get a split screen going here.
What else we have? Tim, do you know Wolf Hoffman, guitarist with Accept? I don't, but if you can introduce us, I'd love to meet him, but I don't know him. Let's see, Styx, not bad, from Doc Holliday. Styx is an interesting band. They still tour, by the way, and apparently do a good show, but I haven't seen them in a while. But they don't have Dennis DeYoung with them. He's not been with them for some time. How often is this on, Larry? That's a question.
We do Chillin' with Larry Megan. It's supposed to be on Wednesday nights. However, what I said I was going to do is during the season of X Factor, we would do it on Thursday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern time, for the rest of the season for X Factor. When X Factor, is done, we're going to go back to Wednesday nights on Chillin' with Larry Megan. So I think we've got probably about 7 or 8 more weeks, something like that.
Cool.
So right now it's Thursday nights, 11 p.m. And then occasionally we'll do an extra show like this.
11 p.m.
Eastern.
Eastern. Okay.
11 p.m. Eastern. And then occasionally we'll do I want to get Wing in here and do a show with Wing.
You've got to get Wing.
Yeah, well, Wing and I are
Sean
good friends,
Wilsey.
and I would love to get Sean. I like to get. There's a few other people on my list that also, but I'd like to get I'd like to get Big Mike in
Big
here.
Mike would be fun. Get Abby Vieira when she's in town. She'd be a great.
Well,
guest.
Abby, she'll. I'll have her. We'll sit in the same chair. She'll sit on my lap.
That's between you and her.
No.
Don't get me involved in that.
No, I'm just joking around.
She's great. She'd be a great guest. Let's see. Tim, have you used Simmons drums? I know you play the drums. Actually, to be very clear, I play drums very badly. And a lot of my musical idols are actually drummers. Vinnie Caliuta, I think, is god of drums. That guy is just beyond.
And I'm a Gene Krupa guy.
Gene is actually great. Gene did some very cool stuff, but I'm going to stay in the Vinnie camp. Vinnie Caliuta for sure, among others.
Gene Krupa and
obviously.
Buddy Rich.
Have I ever played Simmons drums? Yes, I have. In my very limited scope as which I don't even call myself a drummer. The early Simmons drums, I felt played. You might as well play the top of a kitchen table. They if you don't know what they are, Simmons drums are the electronic drums, the early ones from the 80s. And the first ones that they came out with were the surfaces you played on were very hard. They were literally as hard as playing the top of a table. And so that wasn't a very pleasurable experience because you get the shock of the hit would come back up through the hand and the wrist. Now, subsequently, they came out with softer surfaces, and that became better. I'm a fan... first of all, I'm a fan of hiring a real drummer if I'm working on a session like that. Secondly... I really think the overall sensual experience of playing drums is best served when you are playing on a real kit. Now, I'm also a fan of the high-end sample, so I have no problem with using a live kit that triggers very well captured samples of drums and so on. And also, a phenomenally recorded acoustic kit is still realistically the ultimate. And there are some kits like Neil Peart from Rush, for example. I mean, there's just no way that you could have that many samples going on a kit that huge. So, kind of a long answer, but yes, I've played them. I do think that Simmons drums have that unique sound, which has kind of now become regenerated again. Hip-hop has picked up on it, and you'll also hear them used as either trigger samples and so on in a lot of contemporary stuff. So I hope that answers your question. Peart, yeah, someone's mentioning Neil Peart. I didn't forget Neil Peart. I think if you want to just take the genre of rock, I think that Neil Peart is right at the very top of the list. The reason I picked Vinnie Caliuta is this guy can play that, and he can also play funk or jazz or classical or... I'll put it this way. Vinnie Caliuta played with Frank Zappa when he was 14. He's a phenomenal guy, and he by no means is he like the only great drummer. Peart is terrific. Terry Bozzio, that's another one. Terry Bozzio is actually in one of my favorite prog rock groups. If you go back, you remember a band called UK. One of my influences as a keyboardist, I do consider myself a keyboard player, was definitely the guy from UK, Eddie Jobson, who is just amazing player. And Terry Bozzio, also an alumnus from Frank Zappa. He's just got this killer groove, and a very nice guy, by the way. Terry is just terrific. Slingerland drum set. Older kits, yes. Slingerland drums sound great. I also like the vintage Yamahas. I also like the vintage. What's the other one? Sonor, especially in rock. Sonor has this really thick sound, and they do. You're right. The older kits do have a richer tone. If you're going to go with the newer kits, I like what DW builds now. Doc Holliday, Missing Persons. Yeah, Terry Bozzio, if you don't know the name, he was probably best known for Missing Persons because he married Dale, and Dale was the lead singer for Missing Persons. And memory serves, didn't they do? Is it Voices Carry? I can't. They had a couple of big hits in the 80s. It could be wrong in Voices Carry. But he actually, for a while, he had a custom kit built, sort of like Simmons, where he stood up and he would actually play completely standing, and the actual toms were all these little hexagons about the size of what you think of as an iPad now. And he had that custom made, and he was doing that for a while. He's back on the acoustic stuff now, last I knew. Back to the vintage. Yeah, 60s, 70s, Sonar. I know, I agree with you. It would be probably 67, Slingerland and Ludwig. And Ludwig in the 60s, 70s, of course, was doing that plexiglass clear. It wasn't plexiglass, but it was these clear kits. And they've actually started to come back now. But I don't, honestly, I don't care for the clear stuff. I think they sound kind of strange and not thick at all. They're kind of synthetic. Bozzio did use rototoms a lot. I don't know if he still does. Here's one for Larry. It must be the thing for watches. Larry saw the Prestige Laurel Auto, Swiss-made, looks beautiful. And Gretsch, yes, for the 60s, for sure. Gretsch, and also great guitars by Gretsch.
Yeah, the whole Prestige thing is exciting, and I'm looking forward to getting it out there on Shop NBC. Just not exactly sure when that's going to happen. It's not easy to bring Swiss-made goods, on the air at Shop because, I'm sure it's going to happen and I'm sure it's going to come, but let's face it, Shop NBC works on very tight margins, and the vendors have to work on
not everybody can play.
Yeah, the vendors work on very tight margins, and of course Shop works on tight margins, and that's why the prices are so phenomenal. I'm not saying that as any kind of a sales gimmick.
No, it's true. It's a tightrope.
It's
without getting
tough.
into proprietary. It's a tightrope act, which is why, that we don't have legions of people. I think it's one of those things where initially a lot of people think that, it looks really easy and how hard can it be? But you start running the math and the strategies, it's way more complex. It
really is. You have to try and, honestly, you look at it like, if we can just break even, I know that sounds funny, but you look at it as if we can just break even on Shop NBC. Please, just break us even, and we have to try to make our money in whether it's in other countries, other distribution channels, whatever, make our profits there. Then it's worth it because of the exposure that we get and the awareness. But
some more questions for Larry here, by the way. Compliment, Sterling Original tourbillons are the best.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Who said that?
That was from Doc Holliday, who also asked, why doesn't SO make ceramic watches?
Well, there's a story behind that, but the fact is we actually have a couple that are coming now, and I'm hoping to have it in December for Christmas. I think we're going to have it in time for Christmas. It'll be our first ceramic. That's an outstanding question because we're like the only brand on Shop NBC that doesn't have ceramic, but we're maybe a little late to the party. But, understand this, that, a lot of times people will say, I've got this great idea for a watch, or, why don't you do this or do that or do this? They don't necessarily, understand that I literally have no input into this. I'm on the marketing side of the business. And you say, well, I have their ear. Yeah, I have their ear. But you have to realize, and I know you know this, Tim, the owner of Sterling Original takes such pride in, he is the chief designer. He works with George and Alex, and that's his category. That's his baby. He is the chief designer for Sterling Original. It's his money at stake, and frankly, he does a fabulous job. He does an incredible job of the product that we're putting out and we're coming out with, all the time. But that's kind of his domain, and I've made some suggestions that he's taken, and he says, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that, and once in a while he'll do that. But I think, sometimes, and, some people have gotten the wrong idea because a lot of times the guests that are on Shop NBC, like a Wing, for example, he does do all his own watches and designs and so forth. And maybe some of the other guests, like Omar Torres, who I know fairly well, he does his own designs on the jewelry end of things. Okay. So a lot of the guests that come in, they are the ones driving the designs. Dallas is a good friend of mine. I know Dallas going back to the mid-90s, Dallas Prince, with her designs and her jewelry business. She does her own designs. But I'm a guest that
Well, I think it
focuses
varies-
on the marketing side.
Yeah, I think it varies, person to person. Exoskeleton, their stuff's totally original. Wing, as you point out, and then there's others that do more like an homage. So it kind of varies.
When it comes down to it, I'm a marketing guy.
Let's see what else is over here. Doc says, love watching Tim and Larry on Shops. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Doc.
One of the questions that now skated off the screen.
Before you get to that question, Tim, hold on. I just want to make one more plea. Come on, somebody out there, please video Skype us.
How about it? Or a call, or both.
Well, we'll take a call, and anybody can call the number right there.
So far, we've gotten, and there's a ton of you guys logged in, so it's
Yeah,
not like we
somebody
don't see it.
call in. We can at least take your voice, but I would love a video.
I would love to do a Skype. I agree.
Because we get
Somebody
a video
do it.
Skype, we can do a split
Skype's
screen.
free, by the way. Go download it,
and we can
sign up. You can be out here in 5 minutes. Somebody, you know what? I'm going to read it exactly.
Let's get a phone call.
Do you have one?
No, let's.
I agree, but
So-
until
call
we
us
get
up.
that call, I wanted to go ahead and grab another question here, which is. Tim, you know your watches very well. What are your true thoughts of the Chinese movements? I think that's a great question. Someone asked, what's the number? The number should be at the top of the screen, but I'll read it to you. It's 310
It's right on the screen,
734-8548. 310-734-8548.
we've got a call.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
our screener is screening the
we're
call.
screening the call, and then we
Just
will,
to make sure it's not a crank.
I promise I will get to that question about the Chinese movements, because I think that's actually a great topic. And
Ronnie,
we'll
let's
do
just
it
take
now.
a chance and put him in. Go ahead. All right.
Hold on.
Ronnie's working on it. You see the problem I had, Ronnie? It was all echoing and everything.
All right. Well, we're working on that. I'll start to address. Okay. I'll address the question, which was my honest opinion on Chinese movements. My honest opinion on Chinese movements is that they have come a long way in the last decade. If you look at them 10, even 15 years ago, there was a real high failure rate. I think it was justified because, especially at the time, they were doing such a groundbreaking work as far as getting the price down to where real people could actually buy complicated watches, that it was kind of worth the gamble, and you would be able to own things that you would be spending extraordinary sums of money to get. And I'm not even talking tourbillons, just other stuff coming out of Switzerland. If you look at the quality now, I think what's happened is that China has arrived at such a pivotal point in watches that they have become their own competitor, and has forced them to be much, much better. Because there's numerous companies now that are building watch movements in China. Now, true, there's only a handful that are really well known in the leaders. A Seagull, I guess, is the most obvious. So my honest opinion is, when you're doing business in China, I actually wrote an article about this a few years ago, and it was entitled "China is not necessarily a bad word." It's kind of like.
Yeah.
You have to know, if you're doing business in China, you have to know who to do business with, and almost more importantly, you have to know who not to do business with in China. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another one of the tricks that is real key to doing what we do, like working with Shop NBC, is knowing who to avoid and who to work with. So I don't mean to get the answer that long, but my honest answer with Chinese engines is we've arrived in an era now where the quality is consistent. It's solid. The rejection rate is now very, very small, and they get better and better every year. And I think, frankly, if the Swiss aren't looking over their shoulder, they should be. And
I'm going to add 2 cents on that. But first of all, before you leave tonight, the studio, I have to show you, because I know you haven't seen this yet, we have a new mechanical pure chronograph. And
cool. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, we have it on the air.
Since you mentioned the studio, I got to just, without giving too much
away. You're going to die when
Acorn's
you see this movement.
Facility that you built, your green room blows away the one at Shop NBC. It's amazing. So, very cool. I like what you're building.
And also, just going to what you were saying, I'm going to...
Yeah, your thought.
I'm going to put my little 2 cents here for Sterling Original. I really believe that we are, leaders in this way and help the industry move along with George.
Oh, there's no question. Yeah. I mean, well, look who's gotten involved. Right? People talk about, your opinion with China. China has arrived at a point where people like George de von Berg have gotten involved. I'm going to elect not to share names, but I was talking to one of my close friends in the watch business today, and they were actually visiting a factory in Hong Kong 2 days ago that is actually working to build what people view as a high-end Swiss brand that's 5 figures and 6 figures a piece.
Absolutely.
So these guys are in the game, and there's a difference, by the way, between Hong Kong and China, to be clear. But
no
still.
question.
All right, we're going to try my first call over here at Acorn. Scott from California. What up?
You're on the air, Scott.
What up?
I've been following you guys for a long time, Larry. Facebook you a lot. I'm the one who keeps asking about the exchange. I've always been.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate the
Good
question.
question.
Thank you very much.
I'm not done. I want to tell you that I saw you when you hurt yourself and fell down, and you've been in our prayers, and I know you've been through a lot. I just want to say we appreciate all you do, and the food you have ready for you to the shop, and just really, and my wife especially too. So I just want to say, good words to you. Appreciate much.
Well, listen, I really appreciate not only following me on Shop Me See, but even over here at Acorn TV. This is a personal project of mine, and so that means a lot to me, Scott. But I got to ask you, what part of California are you in? Where are you at? Okay, so Lake Forest, that's by Mission Viejo, right? Yeah, I know that Southern California like the back of my hand because. Yeah, not only was I an agent out there, but if we go back into this, the 70s and early 80s, I played a lot of softball, man. I was a softball junkie. I played slow pitch softball. I had 4 leagues a week and tournaments on weekends, and man, we played in. There was a lot of tournaments in Orange County, man, from Tustin to Brookhurst Park, and San Clemente and San Diego. Which one? Hart Park in Orange. I don't recall that one. Is that a new park or an old one? I don't recall that one, to be honest with you. But I mean, I played around a lot of tournaments, and man, I take my team out. And of course, as you know, tournament ball is very serious ball. It's not just league ball.
Well, I'm 54. I'm starting over, and I'm starting to. My young daughter just made the basketball team at Hillsborough High School, so I'm pretty.
Yeah, well, 54.
Cool, man.
54, Scott. You're just a baby, really. You got it still. 54. You got it all in front of you. But there's nothing like those years. Those high school years with your kids. I'm past that. My baby's 31 now, but.
In fact, my son's 33 and 31.
Oh, okay. So you've got the older ones and a young one.
Yeah.
Okay. You just didn't know when to quit. All right. But no, that's cool, man. But thank you so much for calling in, and we really appreciate the call, and I appreciate your kind words toward me and Sterling, really.
Hey, man. I appreciate the call. Thank you for being a part of the show. Cool.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Man, we got calls backed up now.
All right, here's
We got
another call
one coming up.
Let's bring
Yes?
it in.
No? Hold on a second. We'll have it out here in a moment. I'll come back. We'll do a quick question. How often should one wind automatic watches? Is daily too often? I don't think daily is necessarily too often.
Say that again. What's the question?
The question is, how often should you wind automatic watches? My opinion, and let me be clear, this is just opinion based on experience. If you're clearly wearing the watch, every day or whatever, then obviously you keep it wound. Other than that, I think once a month is fine. My thought is this: once a month, you're basically going to be keeping, the lubrications active and so on, and then you got to ask yourself, why would you, put unnecessary wear and tear on the watch mechanism if it's just going to be sitting in the closet? And I don't really see anything positive. So I would say like once a month, but
let me ask to clarify the question. Does he mean how often should you wind them when you're wearing them, or if they're not being worn?
The exact question is, how often should one wind automatic watches? Is daily too often?
Well, if you're not wearing them, I don't wind them at all if I'm not wearing it. But if I'm wearing it, I'm winding mine sometimes 2-3 times a day. Even though it keeps going, It's just a nervous habit.
Two different sides of the coin. I like once a month to keep the lubrication active. That's me. By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there as a request. If anyone's in the mood for calling, I'd love to talk music or musicians.
Okay.
So live band, studio,
And of course,
taste in music, whatever.
I'll talk gems. I got Richard on the phone. He
Yeah,
wants to talk
so-
gems. I will talk gems, but I like to talk, musicals and
Let's
Judy
talk,
Garland and classic films.
Talk,
So
other stuff.
and jazz music. But all right, we got Richard.
Love to
You're on the
talk
line.
music.
Let's hear it, Richard.
Larry,
Hey, how you doing?
do you remember me?
It sounds familiar. Richard who?
Richard M. from Avondale.
Oh, from Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Richard
You helped
M,
me
right?
out with one of my watches.
Richard M, right?
Time zone watch.
Richard M, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hey, Richard. Okay.
We changed the dial out for a black one to a white one.
That was years ago, man.
No, it was like a year ago.
Was it?
Yeah, how are you?
Good, good. What do you want to talk about gems?
I can't hear. I'm sorry.
I said you wanted to talk about gems?
No. I was going to talk about the Sterling collection,
Okay,
how I've been a collector for probably about since you've been on the air.
okay.
I like a lot of the vintage watches that you guys have. I own that all the way to the Madman.
I've been there 7 years, Richard, and one of the things I noticed today when I went into Watch Geeks online, there was probably 4 or 5 different guys that were maybe a little disappointed with our new tourbillon because it was about 41 or 41 and a half millimeters in size. He said, I would have been all over it if it would have been 48. Or I would have been all over it if it was a 44 or 45. Well, we've done several in that 45 millimeter range already. We did the Imperial Dynasty tourbillon. We did the Imperial tourbillon. Both were in the 45 millimeter case. And then they say, well, yeah, but those had subdials, and the new Vice Royale, we just had it on the other night, Tim. You didn't see it, I don't think, but just a beautiful little straight ahead, but a 41 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, beautiful timepiece. And, so many guys now are just like, unless it's, a minimum, 45 millimeters, they don't even want to touch it. And I think it's a real shame because, I've gotten into wearing bigger watches myself. But I got news for you. When I put that 41 on, and I still wear my 41 millimeter Emperor, the original Emperor.
I have it too.
When you get dressed up, man, there's nothing wrong with a 41 millimeter watch. And I know you're talking, Richard, about watches that if you go back, you go back as long as you're talking about with us, they all used to be 40 millimeters and, 42s and that kind of size. That 41 is a beauty. Did you see it, Richard?
Yes, I did, and I happen to love your collection, and I'd also like to tell everybody that Sterling has what I consider to be top-notch customer service.
Well, thank you for saying that, Richard. We try really hard on that end, and it's definitely one of the hardest parts of the business, Absolutely.
Now, all the years that I'm watching you guys, I have never had the opportunity to say, hello, Tim.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
I'm fine. We've only been able to communicate via, what is this, email or whatever you want to call it?
Facebook or what have you. Yeah, well, thanks for being a part of the show, man. I appreciate it. You guys make all this happen, and I'm grateful every
I
day.
like
So
the
don't
idea
think
that
I'm
you
not.
guys talk about more than just watches.
Actually, Larry and I were talking, prior to coming out here tonight, and
Yeah.
we were actually hoping to talk about almost everything but watches, just because we, that's what we're kind of known for is watches. So what if we just talked about movies or TV or music production or
Right.
whatever, and just take calls, and we'll see where this goes. I mean, we don't really have a roadmap. So,
But I'm glad you said
can talk
that.
drums all day and night with me.
Yeah, well,
I'm down with the drums.
I'm glad you
I'm
said
a
that.
frustrated drummer, actually. So what camp are you? More like a Neil Peart guy or a old school, or
I like the drummer Vinny.
Vinny Colaiuta?
From Toto.
Oh, that's Porcaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, Porcaro's one of the monsters, man. Basically, if you heard a tune in the 80s, he was on it, and still one of the great grooves in pop ever. I'm a huge fan of Jeff Porcaro, and rest in peace, man. He's missed for sure. Monster player, great
There's
player.
just so many guys out there.
I know that's what's fun about tracking. I mean, Vinny Colaiuta is my personal favorite, but there's John Moffat. Rayford Griffin. I'm trying to think just in pure rock. Neil
Whatever
Peart for
happened
sure.
to Danny Seraphine?
That's a great question. You know what? Danny actually is a friend of mine on Facebook, and he has apparently got a solo project out now where he's touring. But I don't know the name. Maybe it's the Danny Serafin project. I'm not sure, but he's still doing some live work and some touring. And
I used to love him with Transit Authority.
Chicago now, though, is a monster. He's an amazing player.
Yeah, I used to love his work when he was with Chicago Transit
Authority.
Authority.
That's where I know him. Yeah,
Jazzy.
Chicago Transit Authority. Which a little story before they, the reason they're called Chicago is they actually got sued by the Chicago Transit Authority, and they had to shorten the name. True story. I know we got to keep going, man. But thanks for a great call. It's good chatting with you.
Thanks
keep
again,
playing.
Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You have a
right.
great night.
Peace. Let's get another call. That's
They're
fun.
backed up now.
Let's get a video Skype. I want to do a split screen with someone besides Tim.
Yeah, I can fully understand that.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what other questions. Oh, Vinny Appice. Thank you, Doc. Yes, Vinny Appice. For sure. Great player, no doubt.
See, the drummers I remember, names like John Bonham and Ian Pace, and these are the names that I remember from my youth. But
this is great. Yeah, like Ultravox and Oberheim. Look at this. OBX. He still owned an OBX. Actually, I take that back. It wasn't OBX. I had one of the modulars that I wish I'd hung on to. Oberheim modulars. Only a handful of those made. I had one of them. But now I have an OB8, Matrix 12, and a lesser-known Oberheim hybrid, just called the Oberheim. No, Matrix. What do I have? The Matrix 12, and then they made another one. Oh, the OB12. I've got one of those. Yeah, Appice is a great drummer. And who else? Anyway, let us know if we got a Skype or another call, or I'll just keep babbling
the
about
line is
favorite
open.
drummers.
The way our phone line works here, Tim.
One
call,
at a time.
One at a time.
One at a time.
You know, to go to
So
queue.
this would be a good time to call.
Right, because now
we're not talking.
The line is
They
open.
could call.
Yeah.
And then we would answer the phone.
Yeah.
And
There is a system I could get, okay,
I'll bet there
where the
is.
calls could come in and we could have them.
Guitar Center.
And no, not a Guitar Center. There's a place in New York that carries it, and it's $8,000. It's called a Telos, and the calls can be queued up and backed up in the system and everything, like a radio talk show kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But that's a little out of my.
That's a little for the time being. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, but one call
right
at a
now,
time.
a line is open, and somebody wants to call and hang out with us. I wish you would.
Yeah. You know.
Let's see. Boy, they're just vintage. Yes, cymbals. I agree with you. Vintage Zildjian Ks. They record phenomenally. Love them live. Actually, for live, I love the Zildjian Brilliance, which I haven't seen around.
Here's
in a while.
something I bet you didn't know.
Which is?
Well, I played trumpet.
I didn't know that.
As a kid.
So you play a Selmer? Or do you...
I played, well, Mike, actually, I had a beautiful silver Yamaha.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, it was gorgeous. It was so expensive. I had, and then when I hit about 19 years old, I only played for 4 years. I gave it up at 14 years old because I got so much into basketball, and I played high school basketball.
You got to make a choice.
Yeah, and I didn't have the gift. I was pretty good, but I didn't have the gift. I could hit a high C on call, but I love the trumpet, and Chet Baker is the one that got me into it. When I was a little kid, bopping around the valley in L.A., I used to think I was a little Chet Baker. And Herb Alpert was the other one. Those were my favorites. But I remember
what about Doc?
Doc Severinsen, man. I mean, he's great too. In fact, when you hear the opening on my Classic Film Zone, that's Harry. That's Harry James.
Harry James,
another famous trumpet player.
Yeah.
In
I
fact,
opened for Doc Severinsen once.
Well, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me that Mrs. Al Hurt lives right here in our area in Chanhassen, and she might be interested in coming on and being a guest.
That'd be terrific.
Yeah, it'd be kind of fun. I said to her, she must be older than God, and she said no, she was much younger than Al. So I guess she's, she's okay. But
here.
In any case, what I was saying is that when I hit about 19, I had that silver Yamaha, and when you're kind of young and you first get out of the house and stuff like that, and you need money, I hawked it. And I figured I'm going to go get it back.
Yeah, of course you don't.
I never got it back. That silver Yamaha, I mean, today would probably be over $1,000 easy.
Look at these vintage guys
I was
coming
a hot
in over
horn.
here. Yamaha CS80. I didn't know the CS50, but I did play the CS80. Also the CS60 I've played. I've not played a 40. The CS80, I actually own that now. in the what they call the soft version. The CS80 is fantastic. Early Toto for sure. Oh, and also again back to UK with Eddie Jobson on the CS80. No doubt, just a master. The problem with the CS80s is that they never stayed in tune and they were always breaking and they were constantly, you had to fix them all the time. But they do sound amazing. Hans Zimmer, the film score composer, I'm a big fan of his. He uses them. He used them in like Gladiator, opposite the orchestra, that sort of thing. Lindrums, yeah, the 808. The Lindrum and the 808 actually has really come back. Apparently hip-hop really likes some of the sample drums from the 808. Are you guys into big band swing jazz? Larry, more so than myself, but he'll comment on that. Do I think Ozzy, this is a good question, can Ozzy rekindle the magic of the Black Sabbath years? They do have a new album and a new tour. They just announced the tour on 11/11/11 at 11:11 a.m. out in Vegas. Honestly, I don't know without all the original members if the actual magic is going to be there or not, but I do think the tour will be very successful because they've got so many fans that have hoped to see this kind of, the whole thing kind of come back together. So I think at some point, they're going to buy tickets and it's going to be cool. Here's one for Larry. This is good because it's a crossover. Charlie Watts from the Stones, but doing big band. Your thoughts?
I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not.
He's had a big band in England for years.
Really, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to check it out, look it up, and see what it's all about. I'm sure it's probably great music.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking professional show business right there. But, I really wasn't that big of a big band fan, but, I like the music. I mentioned the Gene Krupa band because, of course, his singer was Anita O'Day, and I love Anita O'Day. But, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'm not. I am not an expert.
I'm not either.
I'm just a fan, but I'm not an expert. But I am a fan.
A comment. If I'm not mistaken, the Monkees were the first band to record music with a synth. That could be. That's a great question. I don't know. Let's see. Was it the Fairlight or the Fairchild you just mentioned? Yeah, the Fairlight CMI. An amazing machine. I've only played one time. I never owned it. They were in their heyday horrifically expensive. So I never had one of those. Let's see. Watchmaven has played drums since he was 5. Very cool. So he's played through the 60s with the rock and is now playing in the lounge gigs. Good for you, man. Best drummer, Buddy Rich. You'll probably dig Buddy. I got to be honest. I never got the Buddy Rich thing, which I know flies in the face of a lot of drum. By the way, that doesn't mean he sucked or something. It was just he was really fast and he's really technical. Part of the reason, honestly, I don't like Buddy Rich is I've just met guys that played with him, and Buddy was a bully. He bullied his bands. In fact, if you doubt me, I'm sure it's on YouTube or something now. Look up something called the Buddy Rich tapes, which was attributed at least to a trombone player in his band, that Buddy would go off on these drunken rants, just belittling his bands on the tour buses, and this guy started to get back at Buddy by taping them, and they've now become rather legendary. In fact, when I was touring, these could be passed around on cassettes, and I'm sure they're on YouTube or something now. In fact, at one point, it even became a comic book, and someone drew a comic book that illustrated all the Buddy Rich tapes, and a drawing that looked like the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers, if you know who that is. So I guess this is my thoughts on Buddy. But the guy could play, no doubt. I always remembered him on the Muppets. Buddy did a really cool stint. He was the musical guest one evening on the Muppets, which I thought was cool. I think Larry is still trying to solicit a phone call over here.
No,
somebody would call.
No, I'm getting text messages here. But
let's see. Oh, there we go. Yep, somebody else is mentioning Buddy on the bus.
Tim's sitting in my chair. So he's
you want to switch? No, seriously, you have the guys here.
No, I know it's cool though. I don't mind. The only reason I like that.
Comfortable.
No. Look at this chair I bought.
It's a phenomenal. In fact, you know what? I'd like to sit in it.
But you're doing a good job reading the board there.
Okay.
I'll stay in that chair over on that side, we've got the extra computer where we can do the chat board and stuff like that. But it's cool.
So shoot us some more,
I'm
music
actually
questions or something. Okay,
very
here we go.
happy that all these people are coming in and they're writing in these music questions because that's your sweet spot, Tim.
I love music, television.
That's your
movie,
sweet
movie
spot.
production. We could talk about that.
Absolutely. Better
You know,
that.
something I've noticed a lot.
Better that than the watches.
A
Tim.
lot of I've noticed a lot of watch fans are actually musicians. I don't know if there's not all of them, obviously.
Well,
but
it's
I've-
funny
over
you
the
say
years,
that.
There's a great baritone player that's
It's
supported the show
It's
for
funny you
years.
say that because I've gotten a lot of emails too at Sterling from guys that are piano players.
Yeah.
They like certain of our watches because the way they sit on the wrist. I've had guitar players, things like that. You're right though. A lot of these watch guys are musicians.
Which is cool,
Yeah.
So call us. Oh, Eddie Van Halen played. Eddie Van Halen played an Oberheim on Jump. That is absolutely true. Eddie Van Halen, the original, it's attributed to the OB8, but actually Eddie recorded that on an OBXA with Ted Templeman out in L.A. in 1983, and then he toured with an OB8. Now, Jump, since you mentioned it, that's actually recorded direct line on the tape, but the other one, which I think is I'll Wait, I think is the name of the song, that distortion was achieved by, they took the Oberheim, plugged it into a dual 12 Fender guitar amp, and then they mic'd the guitar amp, so that's how they got that. But you're right. He absolutely did play an Oberheim.
Now that
Jump
we
in the
have,
recording.
while we're waiting for our next phone call, Tim, now that we have Ronnie here,
Yes.
maybe we could take a look at those pictures from India.
Cool. Let's do it. Yeah, let's talk photography.
Ronnie,
and-
use your probably the playlist number 3. Clear it out. Clear it.
Guys lamenting not playing an OB8. I own an OB8
And
in the Rev 3. I have a Matrix 12, which will never ever be for sale, and then the OB12, which is lesser known.
Folder, you have photography, and then in photography there's one for India. You see?
Okay, we're going to call up some photos.
Now,
Talk
when-
about that.
when-
Yes.
When were you in India, Tim?
I shot India summer of 2010. Spring, actually.
So a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got here, Tim?
Okay, this is inside one of the palaces that was on top of one of the numerous mountains in India. And it's this is going back several hundred years ago, if not more so, when India was actually one of the wealthiest countries in the world. And it was part of the silk trade route and the spice route and a lot of routes. And India, at this point, it was one of those things where the wealth is always going to be here. And it got to the point where the different rulers of the different states would try to outdo each other with opulence. And they would build, when you hear the term fort in India, when you're talking about the ancient India, this is really elaborate, astonishingly elaborate palaces. I mean, I saw one of them that actually traversed a couple of separate mountaintops connected. I mean, these guys would spend money. There was one, in fact, it's on. I don't know if you brought up the photo, but there's one where the room is itself actually made out of silver because, of course, that's what you do. So this is the inside of one of the courtyards, and it was just it's one of the windows that just overlooked the courtyard. I thought it was kind of cool as you had the blue birds that were sitting up there, but that's what it is.
What do we got next?
Can you go back to the previous? I can talk to this one. That is actually that might even be in the same place. That is a detail from the top of a doorway actually, and that's a combination of different paints and enamels, and I think they're carving in it's not ivory. I think they're carving in various stones and granites and whatnot to create that. But it's one of the very very elaborate archways, I guess, that goes over the entryway, and I just like the kind of the concentric idea and the way it played in the light.
Okay.
I was going to talk about that portrait of the girl in the doorway, but I don't know if we're going to get that or not. But we'll see. But that's what it is. This is where Larry can. Oh, we have.
No, I
it?
think is that the one, Tim? No.
No, it's it was only there for a split. It was directly ahead of the green doorway, if that's any clue. Elephants.
I think those elephant shots are incredible.
The elephants are cool. The elephants was there's a festival. Here's one of them. It's a festival, and I'm sorry I can't recall the name of the city that does it, but they host this festival over several days that celebrates, among other things, the elephants as a treasure of India. So the surrounding villages actually bring in their favorite elephants, and they arrive more or less painted like this. And then they have actually this big staging area that starts, behind the whole parade, because it's a very elaborate parade. And then the guys come in and they kind of retouch the elephants. And one of the elephants is actually elected as king or queen of the whole parade. And
these are the Indian elephants.
The smaller ears, and they're also not as big of an animal. They're still massive animals. They're just not as big as the African elephant.
Right.
And so one of the elephants is declared, I don't know, king or queen or whatever. And the elephant actually knows that they got crowned, and they get their own separate area away from all the other elephants, and they get catered to, and the elephant gets an attitude.
You were doing a National Geographic trip on this one,
Yes,
right?
I was out with Nat Geo. I was with photographers from Nat Geo, yeah.
Yeah, and do any of your shots get in there?
Yeah, not yet. That's one of my goals. I want to be in Nat Geo. I've come close. That polar bear shot we showed earlier, that got close, but got edged out. The part of the reason, well, first of all, I'm with extremely gifted photographers for starters, and since so often we're shooting the identical thing, that they would go obviously with the Nat Geo guy before they take something I did. But I love shooting with those guys because it forces you to be better, which is great when you're just around. There's a great line that Jeff Goldblum delivers in The Fly, where he describes surrounding himself with people that are far more gifted than he. And I always thought there was great wisdom in that. And I love shooting with master photographers because I want to find out how you do that and get into the field with them. Oh, here's the shot. This is one of these happy accidents. It's not so much an accident as it's just good fortune, I think. I'm in a small village in India, and I'm just walking. Actually, I stayed in the fort in that community, and I just walked down the street in the village below, and I looked through this doorway, and this girl was just standing there. That's the only frame that I shot, and I really didn't think that much of it. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And went, bam! And when later I got to process this, do what we call post-production now in digital, that I realized it turned into this really interesting portrait where mathematically it steps up, as you'll see, and so on. But that was actually just off the shoulder. Just I saw it happening and grabbed it. And it's one of those lessons I learned actually from, like you mentioned, with the Nat Geo guys, because one of the ways, if you're in the field shooting, is you don't, kind of like what Wayne Gretzky said about hockey, you don't go to where the puck is, you go to where it's going to be. And it's one of these things where in a matter of moments, you have to see the picture that's forming where it's going to be in the next second. You just saw that as I was walking, just pick up, bam, and hit it. And that's how it happened. But that's actually one of my favorite candid portraits I ever did, so I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, what I saw also, you had some pictures from France. Was there anything worth looking at
there? There's a couple of interesting, I don't know what you grabbed, but there's a couple of interesting panoramas I shot in there. I love shooting panoramas.
The panoramas are a little hard to show here, but let's try it if we can. I mean,
there's cool, and we're going to cool in the time-lapse video. That's one from France.
That looks like the Rue de Champs-Élysées or something.
Well, the reason I took this is that the vast majority of what you're seeing is absolutely fake. This is in the town of Lyon, and Lyon, of course, known for the the butcher of Lyon in World War II. But other than that, they're now very famous for these massive, ultra-detailed murals that are on the sides of buildings. And so everything that you see in this shot is a painting, except for, I'll tell you what's not, the building all the way to the left is real. Everything from that all the way to the right is completely fabricated, except for the guy in the blue shirt.
So what is it, like a movie set?
You could compare it to a movie set, and they're using forced perspective like movie sets do, but that's on the sides of offices or apartment buildings and things like that. And then they're all over the city. I didn't get to see near all of them.
We got anything else in there from the France folder?
France, there should be a couple of panoramas. I did an evening shot, a couple evening shots actually, of the Louvre courtyard. There's one of them now that came up. That's pretty cool. And there's one of just really fast shutter photography. Here's the one that was with the horse with fast shutter photography. That's also in Lyon. That's the fountain outside of the city hall. And I just like the way the horse appears to be bursting through and with the steam coming out of his nose. So I actually came around to the back where the sunlight was highlighting the steam. So I just exposed for that. And when
Let's
I
get a big shot of the horse there.
1/3600th of a second,
There
I
you
think
go.
that shot at. So it just freezes absolutely everything.
This is a statue.
Yeah.
Where is this at?
It's in Lyon, France. It's outside of City Hall. And I just, I love the backlighting and the way they set this up. So there's several horses in the total facade, and it just has them bursting through this perpetual wall of water. I thought it was a great setup.
You had a few shots on your website, on your Facebook page from Switzerland. Was there anything worthwhile in there?
Switzerland, there's one from, I did one from a mountaintop with some ravens. The first time I was in Switzerland was in the 80s, so there's one I was up
There's only one shot
in the
there.
snow caps, yeah.
Let's see what
that I shot.
I assume that's Switzerland right there. It looks
Yeah,
like,
that's
that
that's
the
actually
Rhine?
where I stayed the last time.
That's Lucerne, right?
Yeah, that's Lucerne. Yeah, which
And-
is a fairy tale town, and I highly
and what is that?
recommend
That's
seeing
the
it.
Rhine, isn't it? Or no?
No, that's a lake. Actually,
Oh, it's a lake.
It's a lake in the middle of. I don't know the lake's name, to be honest. I didn't know I was going to be getting the geography questions, but it's.
Well, you were there. I mean,
yeah, but
that's,
I didn't.
that
I didn't
was
think to
Lucerne.
ask. But it's just a very picturesque.
That's a
amazing
beautiful
place,
shot.
and
Looks like-
everyone should go see it.
It looks
It's
like
way
a
cool.
postcard, Tim. Nicely done.
Okay, so influence. Some people asking me about my music. Have I been influenced by Kraftwerk? No, but I love synthesizers. But I've not been influenced by Kraftwerk. I know their work though. It just wasn't where I chose to go. I was largely originally influenced by Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Yes. And then I really came into my own. I discovered early Elton John and early Billy Joel. Todd Rundgren's been a major influence. And then for composing and arranging, definitely someone like Hans Zimmer would have been a huge influence. James Taylor. And also for playing lead on, for example, synthesizers, I take a lot of lead from Eddie Van Halen. Actually, I just like his phrasing is amazing. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I didn't care for Asia so much, honestly. They lacked the intensity that I found in Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So hopefully it answers the question about Asia. But at the time, I just appreciated those guys were in the top 40. Question: do I like film or digital in photography? That's a great question, and of course, it's one that is debated. I got to tell you, at the end of it all, I really prefer digital. I think digital has come a very long way. I think at this point, I think that film holds an advantage in one arena, and that's long time exposure. Because if you do long, when I mean long, I mean north of 30 seconds. Because analog or film doesn't gather the noise, but digital does. But other than that, I love digital because I can just go and take as many shots as I want, and the post-production is so much easier. So I
Well,
like
you're an
running digital.
inside-the-box guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Because you were telling me, do away with my mixing board.
Yeah,
and
same
do it.
thing. Well, I admire the analog, and I use analog.
Yeah.
But I like inside the box for music.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I like the idea of not having to pay $1 billion for all the processing and stuff. But I understand what where the
Well,
question's coming from.
first
yeah.
major recording I did was in Prince's room here at Paisley Park in 1989.
Which is less than a mile.
Yeah,
from
it's
here.
close to Acorn's headquarters here,
We're
and
very close
that
to
place
it,
is it's astonishing. And my only point is, I can do things now in my room that could not have been done without astronomical cost in his room. The technology has just progressed, which I think is a good thing.
Was it you that told me about his mixing board there, or somebody
Yeah,
else?
he had a custom built Oxford SSL. Yeah, like at the time about $500,000 for that.
And it just like a wall-to-wall buttons on there.
Oh yeah. It's and now that's what I use. Only mine, some of it's analog, and then some of mine's digital. But I love SSLs.
Yeah, that's cool,
If that
man.
answers somebody's question,
Well,
I hope. Is Russ Kunkel still around? Yeah, he was.
Who's that, Tim?
Russ Kunkel's a great drummer. He was probably best known, I think, for Jackson Browne, but he's also been out with Bonnie Raitt, I believe. I'm not sure who he's working with at the moment. I think he's still with us, as far as I know. Jan Hammer, great keyboard player, no question. I actually got to tech him on one of his shows here in Minneapolis years ago. I didn't get to jam with him or anything, but I did get to tech the show, which is kind of cool. Giorgio Moroder, electronic synthesis, I think largely for film. I can't say he's an influence, but I'm familiar with his work. Yeah, absolutely. Russ is a great studio drummer. I think in the early days he was known to hang out with the Eagles as well, I believe, and possibly Linda Ronstadt. Annie Leibowitz says she loves the dark room. A gifted photographer, no question. And yeah, she does use both film and digital, and she's terrific, no doubt. Question for Larry. Larry's favorite musical.
Oh my goodness!
Which I know is a leading question.
Favorite musical? That's tough because I've got about a dozen that I really dig. Listen, I guess when it's all said and done, I'm going to have to say "Singing in the Rain." The reason why I hesitate for "Singing in the Rain," and we featured it last week actually. Have you seen that, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason why I hesitate is because "Singing in the Rain" doesn't have my girl in it. Judy Garland.
Judy,
yeah, I wish Judy would be in that movie so I could just,
You could go back in time and put her in everything.
so I could unequivocally just, 100%
fix all of that,
love it.
right?
But even without Judy, it's just wall to wall, just golden nuggets of just entertainment. It's just incredible. I love Donald O'Connor. Gene Kelly is great. Debbie Reynolds. It's just, it's just entertaining. And, I've been having Jonathan as a guest. You know Jonathan.
Sure. Yeah.
Goodman from Stour. And he said something funny when we featured it last week. He said that musical is like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day. I thought that was a great analogy. That was funny because you can watch that movie 100 times. It's that good. So I'm going to have to say that one, but it doesn't have Judy in it. If I have to pick one, another one, a couple of my favorites with Judy would be Easter Parade with Fred Astaire, and then also I would have to say Meet Me in St. Louis. And I would put Meet Me in St. Louis right up there with everything, except there's a real funky part of Meet Me in St. Louis that kind of just brings it down a notch. You're not familiar with it?
No, not that
well, if you're familiar with musicals out there, that whole part with the Halloween scene and where the girl, the little sister Margaret O'Brien makes up the lie about the neighbor trying to kill her and all that. That takes the movie, into some dark areas, and it just kind of muddies it up a little bit. But other than that, it has, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, The Boy Next Door, Zing Went the Strings. I mean, or the Trolley Song, not Zing Went the Strings, but the Trolley Song. I mean, that's just a great musical. And Judy was only, she was 22 at the time, and that's where she met her husband, which was Vincent Minnelli was her director. Cool. Yeah. That's the real love story of that movie is the fact that Judy didn't want to do the movie because she's 22 and she had to play a 17-year-old. She didn't want to go backwards. He talked her into it. He was, 20 years older than her, and he fell in love with her. She fell in love with him, and 6 months after they wrapped the movie, they got married, and thus we have Liza Minnelli today. But so I put Meet Me in St. Louis up there, but it's got that funky part. Easter Parade right up there. So many Guys and Dolls. You can't leave Guys and Dolls out. They got to be in the top 5 with Sinatra and Marlon Brando, Gene Simmons. But I'm going to say Singing in the Rain, number 1.
There you go.
All right.
Great question. Someone suggesting Oklahoma here. Your thoughts on
Oklahoma? Good call.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang as a musical?
I've seen it, of course. I don't have it. I've got to get it. I don't have everything. I've only got about 500 DVDs. Which is not that many. It sounds like a lot. That's Dick Van Dyke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dick Van Dyke's in that, isn't he?
Yeah.
I have to watch it again.
Did he dance with the penguins in that one?
It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I'd rather not. It's not right up at the top. It's one of the newer ones. It's not back from the 30s and 40s. It's like in the 60s. So, although listen, I love. My Fair Lady, that's with Audrey Hepburn. Unfortunately, Audrey doesn't do her own singing. She was kind of tricked on that. But that's a great one, too, with Rex Harrison. But all right, so, appreciate those questions. Who sent in those questions, Tim?
One, specifically, Hello Dolly was from Doc.
Hello Dolly, Barbara Streisand. Last week.
Mentioned, Watch Maven 51 mentions specifically Barbara.
Well, thank you.
Spells it correctly.
With BARBRA, yeah. I actually showed a clip last week, and when we end the show, Tim, we're getting near that time, but when we do end it, I end every show with a Judy Garland moment.
It seems only fitting.
Yeah, because that's my girl.
Yeah.
But last week I ended it where Judy Garland had a TV show. In fact, the moment I'm going to show tonight when we get to it is also from her TV show. And she liked to introduce new talent. And this is I showed the clip last week where she actually introduced Barbra Streisand. Have you seen that?
No, I have not.
You want to see it?
Sure.
Ronnie,
show, man.
Ronnie, can you dig it up? Is it still in there? No, we're not going to go to Chasing Rainbows yet. This is just a request here. I don't think it's in the queue. It might be. It's called Judy Barbara. Look in the folder to see if it's there.
And apparently Marnie Neon sang on My Fair Lady, and also sang Natalie Wood's part in West Side Story.
Yeah, and what a voice, and I mean, Audrey does a tremendous job, and there people think she's singing, and I love. You see, I've got her on my wall right above you there, Tim.
You do,
I love Audrey Hepburn. She's right up there with Judy, except Judy sings.
What did I say? I said it wrong.
But
because I'm reading other people's material
yeah,
over here, and I don't.
It's in the Acorn folder, and then Judy. Go to Judy, and then it's the Judy Barber thing at TV. You see it there, Ronnie? Okay, we'll just set this up real quick. This was Judy Garland on her TV show in 1962, I believe, where she's passing the torch, so to speak, and she introduces a young Barbra Streisand. Okay. And I showed her. We'll start it over. But you did find it, Ronnie. Okay.
Do we have it? We're gonna
Here,
do another
yeah.
question?
No.
Okay.
Forget your trouble, happy day. Come on, get happy. I hear again the skies. All your cares above are clear again. Shout hallelujah. So let's sing a song. Come on, get happy. Cheer again. Get ready. Happy days are here again. The sun is shining together. Come on, get happy. Shout it now. There's no one who can tout it now. Shout hallelujah. So let's tell the world and just get happy about it now. We're happy days are here again. We're heading across the river. Soon your cares will all be gone. There'll be no more from now on. From now on. Forget the troubles and just get happy. I hear again. You better change the skies above our shout hallelujah. So let's sing a song and just get happy. Cheer again. Happy times. Happy times. Happy nights. Happy nights. Happy days are here again.
Well, Tim, what do you think? Everyone knows what I think. I mean,
Yeah, I think Barbra Streisand's one of the great voices of the 20th century,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. She absolutely is.
her instrument is amazing.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
I mean, she's a young girl right there, and she's singing with Judy Garland. I mean, a legend, and she soared. I mean,
I imagine it's probably one of the pivotal moments when she looks back.
oh, definitely.
I would think. I mean, I've not heard her speak to it.
No,
but
there's
I
no
imagine so.
question about it. Yeah, I think from what I read or research. She adored Judy Garland. She loved Judy Garland, and I mean Judy. I mean, I remember. I don't remember seeing that one on the air as a kid, but we used to sit around. My mom loved Judy Garland, and it was appointment television. Back then you had 4 or 5 channels. That's it. We didn't have cable and all these other things. So when Judy Garland was on, and I believe it was on Friday nights, I'm trying to remember that, but we would have to be there and watch it. And I don't remember seeing that one live, but I actually do have a clip that I'm not sure I want to play it tonight, but I remember seeing it was after JFK got shot, and she was very close friends with John F. Kennedy. And he was assassinated, and I remember watching that show live, and I have that actually queued up if we want to play it tonight. But anyway, so there we had that's my girl Judy. So listen, I guess we're getting close to putting a wrap, Tim.
Yeah.
And we'll make a last call here. Anybody want to call in?
Wants to call?
Last call, last chance for any phone calls. We'll take your calls, and then we're gonna put a wrap, and we'll go to the our Judy Garland segment. That didn't count because that was just just to show my friend Tim.
For Larry.
I always try to I try to recruit Tim into the old days. You got to remember, to me, Tim is still a baby.
Well, I just I like a lot of the old stuff, but it doesn't. I have to admit, it doesn't captivate me like some of the more recent. To me, the more recent.
It's not Deep Purple,
70s, 80s. Yeah.
Or Yes, or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, it's just different. Well, then of course we have to parse all of those if we wanted to get into it. I'm gonna do a quick question here, really quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Back to watches. Actually, sorry to go back to watches.
That's fine.
Do you see the future of watch sizes going back to 40, 45? Yeah, actually I do. I'm not so sure about 40, but I can almost guarantee you 44, 45. I think it will.
I know for Sterling, we're kind of pulling back a little bit because we're expanding our international distribution, and on an international level, the large size is an American thing.
Yeah, for the most part. Well, you still see some of the expansion, the European. Last time I was over in Europe, too, but it's always a lesser extent. I agree with you. I don't think that any other market outside of North America has it captivated.
Yeah.
like you see.
I think I read something on my cell phone here. I looked like I saw a post on my Facebook page, which I'll have to get to after the show. But it looked like it said the show that Larry and Tim are doing is cool. Tim's wearing a Breitling, and the thing is, Tim's not wearing a Breitling.
Actually, I own a Breitling.
I
can actually say a B word now.
I know
on TV.
Exactly. I know it's always so frustrating. But Tim came to the studio wearing a Sterling tonight, and it's our
Sterling Metropolis.
Our Metropolis. So, but
Love
somebody put on the. I
think it was like a Breitling Bentley or something. I think something that's shaped like this.
Yeah, maybe the Bentley is.
It's a guess. I don't know, but it's which is a great watch.
At least I think that's what I read.
It's a Metropolis.
At least I think that's what I read.
Somebody was asking.
But I think for us, we're going to be more in that 45 to 46. We do a lot of 44s, and now the new Tourbillon at 41. And I had one of the ladies post either in Watch Geeks or Facebook. I forgot where I read it, saying she loved it. Oh, it was Deb. That's right, Deb, because she felt she could wear a 41.
Mm-hmm.
And
you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just we're kind of belaboring the answer, but
yeah.
Now don't misunderstand me. I think the large pieces are going to always be with us now, and it's going to become. I think my honest answer would be they're going to become increasingly more of a niche, and they will be infinitely collectible because of that. But I do see mainstream landing. In my opinion, I think it's going to land around 44, 45. That's what I think.
We'll see. And I still like wearing a 50mm watch when you're running around town. It's great because
they are great
because people notice.
You guys have done some fantastic work. Yeah. XO's done some great work in that range. Invicta, obviously. Android, obviously.
We had some.
I still see it settling in smaller.
We had some pictures on Tim, if you could, not his photography, but you go in the Tim Temple folder. I grabbed a few pictures of Tim kind of around town. It just says Tim, yeah, and then also the one that says cheesecake. But let's give Tim a
let's
let's
open that one.
Yeah, before we go off the air, let's see if we can embarrass Tim a little bit.
It's limited embarrassment, and I'm the one that posted it.
Oh, okay. That's true.
Well, this will answer some other questions. People have been, what camera do I shoot with? I shoot the Nikon D2X, and I use a combination of Nikon glass and Tamron glass, depending. And that was obviously in India. I can't tell you exactly where it was, but I think it was actually at a carpet place. But anyway, they had this turban that they were passing around, and they just insisted that the tall white guy wear it. So that's how it happened. That's me with a panda. I mentioned earlier I volunteered for a few days with a panda reserve in China, and on the last day they let me hold a baby panda.
We'll just kind of roll through these little. Oh no, we gotta stop.
Wow,
on that
you
one.
put all. That's I'm climbing
Moab,
southeastern. Yeah, Moab, Utah. And yes,
But-
that is actually. If you see the distance shots, it's actually.
I don't think I
several
pulled the
hundred feet
distance
up.
shot, but it was way
It's
up there.
way up. It's
mean-
a lot farther than.
So you're into rock climbing or mountain climbing?
I am now. I hadn't done it till I was there because I was there for photography and I didn't realize it was the rock climbing, capital of the world, which it turns out it is. This is where they shot the opening scene for Mission Impossible 2 and what have you. And it just kind of hit me. You're here. You're shooting for 5 days. So, go rock climbing. And so I just went and did it. And it was a great experience.
Now here we are.
This is down at the Invicta Marine Pavilion.
That
about
was
a month
cool.
ago or whatever.
Yeah,
It was a great experience.
I watched you guys do that. I watched some of it, and I was a little envious. I wish it could have been me.
I should have come down, man. I would love to have had you there. Well, it was on the cusp where we did the National Watch Geeks.
I don't think Al would have let me come up there and
sure he would've.
sell some Sterlings.
Probably not sell the Sterlings. But
That's
you could have shown up, but you were missed, man.
No, I know.
I
know, but that would have been the way I would have.
But it was a great experience. Enjoyed it.
But I
Fun.
tell you what, you got to hand it to Al Lalo. You really do. God bless him. I mean, this guy is a maverick. What's this picture, Tim?
This is
We lost.
that's the same trip where I'm just out on one.
No,
of the
we
boats
had another one
earlier
there
in the
for a
day.
second, but it's okay. It was you in a plane.
Oh, that's me taking a flying lesson.
So are you done with that? Or
No. Very far from it.
There we
I am
go.
Very far from it.
So you're going for a pilot's
digging it.
license now?
Yeah.
What else can you? You're climbing rocks. You're climbing mountains. You're flying planes. You're in boats.
Mixing the hits.
Okay. There's another
no,
folder
I'm not.
too, Ronnie. Last folder.
I'll think of something. I don't know. What else we got here?
This is the way Tim likes to roll.
Exactly.
This is this is Avi from Exoskeleton.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was actually a very close friend of mine and an amazing person to be around. I mean, obviously she's beautiful, but she's also one of the warmest, kindest people I've ever met in my life. And she's also alarmingly bright.
Okay.
She will actually talk quantum physics, literally. This is Molly. Molly is one of the Miami models that we've used now for a couple of the Invicta remotes.
Mhm.
Also a sweetheart. These are the girls from the Invicta calendar. I think that's Molly there to the left. The others I don't really know.
I put those in a folder I called cheesecake.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering what was going to happen out of that.
Well, those are pictures I got from your Facebook
Oh,
page.
I put them up. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one to blame but myself.
It's no big deal. We're just having fun. I guess we have no more calls for tonight.
They're very beautiful women. I have no
I think we're
problem
ready to
hanging
put a
out with
wrap
them.
on it, Tim. The first hour of the show was like a waste because I was screwing up the audio and the video so
Well,
bad.
you know what? We'll do it again sometime.
So we had
and
to
we'll,
kind of like start over.
We'll do it way better.
I don't have my glasses on, Tim. Can you read that number up here in the streamer on this screen over here, right over here? What does it say? 2:30 or 2:38?
2:38. I guess.
So that means we've been going for 2 hours
Is
and
it 2 hours
30
and 38 minutes?
That's the running time.
Wow, that's got to be some sort
Well,
of.
like
a
I said, the
record.
first hour was a throwaway. I mean, I screwed the whole hour up. It was embarrassing. But then Ronnie came.
So
and
really,
kinda,
some 90 minutes, like we sort of talked about.
yeah, we thought it was going to go 90.
So
we-
it actually kind of did.
Yeah. But now, listen, I close the show every time with a segment called Always Chasing Rainbows, a Judy Garland segment. So
Terrific.
let's close the show. We're going to go to Always Chasing Rainbows.
Thanks, everybody.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high.
Well, it's come that time now. We're going to end Chilling with Larry Megan. And as usual, I like to always finish every show with a Judy Garland moment. And we've seen her now. I've showed her in films. I've showed her in her TV shows. I thought I would show a clip of Judy from her concert years. And, after she got out of films and before she went, to the TV show, she spent several years touring on concerts. She did more than 1,100 concert performances. Of course, her big one was Carnegie Hall, where she won 5 Grammys. They recorded it, and it was a dual album, 5 Grammy winner and all that. This one is not from Carnegie Hall, but it is from one of her concerts. And it's kind of a slower number. It's called Old Man River, and Frank Sinatra sang.
Love that song.
In what was the name of the movie he did it in? Suddenly, I forgot the name of the movie, but Sinatra sung this song as a young Frank Sinatra, Old Man River, and I liked it. So I thought this is the moment that I would share tonight. Judy Garland from one of her concerts, and this is in about 1961 or 62.
That old man river, he must know something. Don't say nothing, he just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. Don't plant cotton and then let plants them, they're soon forgotten. But old man River, he just keeps rolling along. Bodies are aching and racked with pain. Toes that bark, lift that bed, get a little drunk, and you land in jail. I'm tired of living, but scared of dying. And old man River, he just keeps rolling
Well, Tim, I don't know what it is. There's something about her that just gets to me every time. She tore it up.
Yeah, she's an extraordinary talent.
It's a gift.
She's a very gifted individual.
No question. Well, listen, that was it for tonight. I want to thank you all for joining the show. Don't forget, click on the Facebook button and, like our Facebook page. Click on the Twitter button and follow us on Twitter. Feel free to, give us some posts and feedback, that kind of thing. And Tim, and also I just want to say, I apologize for screwing up the first hour of the show, with all the engineering problems I had. We've got snowy conditions here and my engineer got stuck at the airport here. But in any case, Tim, before I let you go, I want you to promise me you're coming back.
I'd love to do this again. This was a blast.
And next time you come we'll back. Have the engineer from the beginning.
And that would be like a whole new experience.
And we'll get the call-ins proper.
Yeah,
we'll get the Skype
pictures
calls.
on Skype, it'll be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to. Can't wait to come back. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And maybe next time we'll plan a little certain subject we want to get into or something like that. Because this was really
I kind of like the seat of the pants thing, man. This was just, let's see where it goes.
You know, Tim, we end the show on Judy because I always find Judy to be so, for me anyway, very inspirational. And every time I hear her sing, I feel inspired. And I like to always encourage, not only, for myself, but also for everybody to always keep following their dreams and keep pursuing your goals and keep chasing those rainbows. Like I know you are, Tim. You have so many interests, outside of your job at Shop NBC, and I think that's great, and that's why I like hanging out with you and stuff, because we can talk about so many different things. You're not a one-dimensional guy. I don't believe I'm a one-dimensional guy.
No, certainly not.
And so I just want to encourage everybody, never give up, keep pursuing your dreams, always keep chasing your rainbows. And until next time, which would be next, I don't know if I'm going to do a show Thursday night. I'll make a post if I'm going to do one on Thanksgiving. You and I need to talk about that. Until next time, I'm Larry Megan. Peace, love, and all good things.
Chillin' with Larry Megan.